Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And Aiden's Army is back out on the track, and one of the most unique ways to present yourselves at the Breeders' Cup. Why did the rooster miss its flight? Because it forgot to check in. Your Kentucky Oaks winner, Secret Oath, out on the track this morning here at Keeneland, making the trip on the 64, headed west to Lexington from Louisville. And on that van as well, Kaiten Bradar, who will be joining us on our set just off the winner's circle here at Keeneland. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse. Last night in the Silk Chalet, which is just up on the turn over here, there was a very special event. It was commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Racetrack Chaplaincy of America. Elliot Walden of WinStar Farm is the president of that organization. It is an organization he's given a lot to. It was a very inspiring night. And as the night started to close, he wanted to mention something about the competition at the racetrack, but how we're all still together. And he was talking about Life is Good, who will represent WinStar Farm in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. And he looked out in the audience and he saw Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, who has Flightline. And he said, now, on Saturday, I obviously want Life is Good to beat Flightline. And all of a sudden, Terry Finley interrupted and goes, Elliot Walden, keep praying. That is the confidence that the connections of Flightline have. It is also the observations of many here at the Breeders' Cup. Joining me now to talk about Flightline and others in the 2 championship days, as promised, Kaiten Bradar. You were awesome at Churchill, by the way. Thank you for everything.
Very happy to be here, though, and catch up with you guys and see all the action here.
Simon Bray with us, too. So, Kaiten, I cannot remember a time where I've come to a big event and it's the same wherever you go. Flightline is not getting beat, from the connections to people who are actually running against the horse. They all think it's a foregone conclusion. Are they all right?
I think, too, when you look to other horsemen, including those who have horses in the race, and see what they think of the competition, what they think of Flightline, the respect that they have for him, the way they speak about. When I spoke to Greg Foley, who has Obesos, after watching the workout here, he said, I think they're all running for second. This is a horse that's truly special in terms of what he's done up to now. But this race will cement everything. Simon, you have been as confident as anybody. You predicted what turned out to be a record performance in the TVG Pacific Classic. Is there any concern? Is there one concern?
No, but and that's what makes him so special. I think a lot of horses, they might be great. They've racked up good records, but maybe you look to a race and say, the horse didn't quite handle the slop. He wasn't good, in this situation. He didn't handle this racetrack. Okay, he's lightly raced. He's 5 for 5. But what can you take away from his 5 races that would dissuade you from winning here on Saturday? There's absolutely nothing. In the camp of Life is Good, yeah, there is. The question mark is the 1.25 miles. It's still hanging over everybody's head. That's not the case with him.
Well, Life is Good will get the jump on Flightline, but will he hold him off? Flightline out this morning here at Keeneland, and we saw this yesterday when he was on the track. Kaiten, he is very, very eager. He wants Saturday to be here now. He
is, and yet he's controllable. Yep. When you watch him in his workouts, he's push button. He does whatever he's asked to do. I heard Juan Leyva remarking to Andy after his workouts on track that he's actually not as tough in some respects as some of the other horses in the barn to breeze. And I think that's telling. A classy horse knows that they have the ability, they're strong, they feel good, and yet they're controllable. And that's been the key to this horse all along. They have been able to carefully control his entire campaign.
Yeah, and I think that's by design. And we touched on that with the workout comparison. It has been like that way since his racing career, but early on in his career, it wasn't always that easy in the workouts. I don't know whether we have that comparison again. I'm producing from the set here. Now we're touching on that.
And that's different subject. From what day?
Yeah, exactly. But This aggressiveness here is just, to your point, Todd, he's feeling good. I mean, there's nothing wrong here. He's just absolutely sitting on go.
At this point, when you can see him stretch his neck out a little bit, he stretches his legs out, his ears are pricked, but he is so relaxed and in such an easy mode of going. There, with the lead change, he takes off just a little bit. If he has the opportunity, if his rider says it's okay, he would be gone.
Correct.
But he's going to settle back into that comfortable rhythm.
I love the way he's going. I mean, I think he's the biggest slam dunk in the last 15 years.
Again, we're talking about the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're not talking about the Juvenile or maybe a race prior to this. It's the biggest race that America has to offer over the 2 championship days of racing. Flightline, whenever he is out, you need to tune in and see what he is up to. We promised you a secret oath for trainer Dwayne Lucas. Caton, you were talking to Lucas Barn all week over at Churchill Downs. The coach is always convincing. Are you buying what he's saying about secret oath could rebound?
So I'm buying what he's saying about her being poised to run a better race than she did most recently.
Sure. Is that good enough?
I don't know if it's good enough. I don't think he knows if it's good enough. I think that physically she's starting to get back to where she was earlier in the campaign when going into the Kentucky Oaks, she was queen or king of the hill. She has put on a little bit of weight. I saw her work that was 2 weeks out from the Breeders' Cup, and she was fast, and she was consistent, and she carried it all the way throughout her work, and she did it with enthusiasm. So I thought all those were positive signs, and then she held her weight afterwards, and I think the best thing that could have happened was the fact that she didn't work this week. She actually just had a nice gallop because of the track conditions and the rain that happened earlier. She's going into this race in similar fashion, training-wise and physically, to the way she did when she was winning at the start of the season. So I think she's sitting on a big effort, but I think everyone has question marks whether it's good enough to win.
Here's my take on her real quick. She was clearly the head of the division. She won the Kentucky Oaks. Who did she beat next? But there's a clear line, a demarcation line, I think, after the Kentucky Oaks. Similar to what we see in the Derby usually. Horse wins the Derby. Some, other horses of the peer group, they catch up. I think since the Oaks, Secret Oath has maintained. She's only been off the board once, and that was in the Preakness. She's maintained her form. But I think Nest has really developed as the years gone on. I think she stayed static, and some of the others have moved ahead of her.
All right, we're not going to stay static. We're not just here on the desk bringing you that video. We've got our reporters all around the grounds here at Keeneland to bring you the very latest regarding the Breeders' Cup. Michelle Yu turning around at the starting gate, Joaquin Jaime, and Gabby Gaudet, where everyone is taking pictures there. That is Clubhouse Lane is one of my favorite spots here at Keeneland right now during the fall. Rishi Prasad and Scott Hazelton. And how about this? He made it through the traffic out of Cincinnati to be here, and we're so happy he is here, talking about Mike Joyce.
Speaking of the latest, I am the latest to arrive. Excuse me, but it's my first day. So I'm going to try to play a little catch-up and see what I missed. The breakfast shows have been excellent, but I haven't been on them. So I'm here over where they're serving food. Not shocking. We'll also get some horses schooling in the paddock today. We've seen some horses on the track. I just saw surf results. I got a selfie. But I've missed a lot. And Joaquin, I'm going to lean on you heavily to figure out what I've missed.
We'll be happy to help, Mike. I'm back here at trainer John Sadler's barn, and the track has been open for training for about an hour, and that's when Flightline went to the track today at 6 a.m., right when it opened. John Sadler told me that Flightline, he's just on a routine daily gallop schedule at this particular point. John told me that Flightline galloped 1.25 miles today on the main track. After he galloped 1.25 miles, they brought him back to the barn. They walked him around the shed row just for a little bit, and then they brought him out on the wash rack that's just right behind me. They gave Flightline a bath about 6:45 a.m. this morning. They threw his blanket on. They walked him around for a little bit more, and then they tucked him away, and they put Flightline back in his stall. So John Sadler reported to me that it was just another very routine morning for Flightline, who's looking to stay undefeated and a perfect 6 for 6 in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And John Sadler did want me to remind everybody out there that Flightline is going to be schooling later today in the paddock. That's going to be taking place at 10:30 a.m. So Scott and Rishi, it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for racing fans out there that want to get an up-close look at Flightline. They can do so, Scott, later on this morning. Flightline schooling in the paddock at 10:30 a.m.
and you know that word will spread pretty quickly here in Lexington because folks love to come out to Keeneland Racecourse, and that's a good reason to come on out to Keeneland Racecourse. Well, speaking of routine, Rich, things a little bit different this morning. Yesterday we saw horses out here by this time, but going out a little bit later, but in really kind of the same set. We're going to see Highfield Princess and Spirit Gal, one of the first 2 Euros coming out here to the training track.
Yeah, we'll be seeing them very shortly, and we'll also be seeing Charlie Appleby's horses once again going out on the turf later today. Charlie Appleby arriving in Lexington today, so we'll hopefully catch up with him a little bit later on. More of the players, more of the trainers and the jockeys are arriving, so hopefully we'll get a little bit more update on the European horses. I think there's a strong buzz about the horses yesterday, just seeing them get a chance to stretch. There's confidence in the camp about what's coming up over the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup meeting, but I have to say, Scott, I'm now very excited about 10:30 this morning.
We're looking forward to seeing Flightline over there schooling. As we check in with Gabby Goddard. Gabby, have you found any more heavy machinery to ride this morning?
Not yet, but the day is young, Scott. There's always an opportunity to find heavy machinery. I will say, though, there's many good things about having the Breeders' Cup in Lexington, Kentucky in the fall, but one of the best things is where I am here this morning. We're beneath the red maple trees. This is definitely a nice photo op as well for all you Instagrammers if you want to come out here and take a picture. Beautiful trees and just beautiful weather that we've been blessed with this week. So, all the preparations have pretty much been done for the Breeders' Cup participants. But how do you prepare to call the Breeders' Cup races? We will find out a little bit later today with racetrack announcer, and Larry Collmus. Looking forward to that. And we might play a little game later, too. Who knows? We'll see. Michelle, what are you up to?
Well, Gabs, if you saw at the beginning, I was just busy over here fangirling over horses that are schooling at the starting gate. Finally found my way over here. It's like as far away as possible from everything else. And earlier, we have already seen Life is Good schooling. We've seen Mostache. And then just a few minutes ago, Todd Pletcher was up here with both Malathat and Annapolis. So we'll be checking into the starting gate. I know for sure Brad Cox is coming over to school some horses. And we tend to see a lot of action here. So I like this particular setup for the morning. Also, we're going to be catching up a little bit later, talking about how Flightline is going to be trying to make history after the Breeders' Cup. And it has something to do with the Metaverse. Andy, I'm not sure if you're versed in the Metaverse, but you're younger than me, so you probably are.
Michelle, I may be younger than you, but I am an old soul, which is why I love Florida, which is why I love Keeneland in the fall. I'm an old soul, so not too familiar with the Metaverse, but I'm excited to hear what you have for us. For now, we have a new friend joining us on the show, and that is Mouse. He's going to be my ride for today and tomorrow. If you remember Mouse, he helped us on The Breakfast Show back in 2020. Gabby rode him. He's a very solid citizen, very well known all over Keeneland. He's outrider Colby Laverne's main catch horse, and he's made some incredible catches this meet, prior meets. He's always kind of a star of the show. So coming this morning, we're going to be actually going to the starting gate with our friend Slammed, running in the filly and mare sprint. She's another one who's going to be schooling the gate, so we'll get the jockey cam on her. We'll get up close and personal to the gates, but for now, let's get it back to Todd on the set.
Thank you, Andy. And let's turn our attention to the Kentucky Derby winner this year. That is Rich Strike. We talked about the shocking upset on the first Saturday in May. But I think a surprise to some who thought it was maybe just a fluke is he's had a pretty good campaign since then.
No, he really has. I mean, particularly his most recent start in the Lucas Classic over at Churchill Downs, where he was beaten just ahead by Hot Rod Charlie in a race that went right to the wire. I think he showed he's for real in that effort. And I also think the 1.25 miles is what really suits him and perhaps convinced his connections that they had to take a go at it, even with the likes of Flightline in this race, Simon.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, yes, it was a big upset and surprising to many, but he fits with the group. He shouldn't be totally dismissed away from the 3-year-old picture. He's faced Epicenter 3 times. He's been beaten by him a couple of times. He beat him once in the Derby, and I think it was unfortunate for Epicenter, but yeah, I mean, he's been doing well. They were a little scared that he was coughing earlier this week, and that's all been put behind him, and he looks well moving over the track here.
He's a beautiful horse. I mean, if you didn't know anything about him or what his record was, when you looked at him, you would say, this is a good horse.
Exactly. Yep.
Covers the ground. We know he can run all day. He breaks to the outside of the field. In his case, it probably isn't that big of a deal because he comes from off the pace. Yep. But he's still going to have to work out a trip and also run the same race here at Keeneland that he's been capable of running at Churchill Downs.
That's exactly right. He's had 1 third-place finish here. It was early on in his career, first off the claim. When he was claimed, remember, this horse was claimed for $30,000 early on. So, he's proven that he can run over this track. He'll run his race. I mean, I could definitely see him, getting a piece of it, maybe finishing 4th, something like that.
After the post position draw, Scott Hazelton spoke to trainer Eric Reed, and he's very happy with how Rich Strike is coming into the race and feels he's ready to run the biggest race of his career. But again, for everybody, is running your best race good enough to beat a horse like Flightline? Rich Strike, though, his resume obviously centers around what he did in the Kentucky Derby. And here is a look at his career overall. And Caton, as you pointed out, Churchill has been his racetrack. If they're holding the event at Churchill, maybe even give a second and a third look. But he will always be the horse that was claimed for $30,000 and went on to win the Kentucky Derby.
He has run previously at Keeneland. He finished 3rd very early in his career off of his maiden victory.
Yep.
And it wasn't a bad race, but it certainly wasn't the caliber of competition that he's been facing lately. But maybe that helps, the fact that he has been here before. His demeanor to me is a little bit improved from where it was in the spring, where he was a big colt, strong colt that wasn't sure how to funnel his energy.
All right, we're going to go to the old soul who's a cold soul on this morning, talking about Andy Biancone.
Trainer Graham Motion joining us right now. Graham, what do you think about your horses that just trained here? I saw Highland Chief out here, and who is that Emma's on?
So Emma's on Nagarok. This is his first day here. He got here about this time yesterday, so he seemed like he handled it really well. He's kind of an old pro for a 2-year-old. He's pretty professional. So
he looks fantastic. Now, I just saw Highland Chief pass us. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I got him out a little bit earlier today because I thought he got a little nervous, kind of waiting around till it was daylight. I don't really like training in the dark, to be honest, but I just wanted to get him out and get it over and done with this morning.
How is Highland Chief typically as a horse? Because I've seen him on the training track, and he does grab the bit a little more there, but he seems like a pretty relaxed horse on the main track. What are your overall thoughts about him?
Yeah, he was a little more on the muscle down the training track where you're turning all the time, but he's been pretty good. He's really settled. He's been here now for about a month, so he's kind of settling in.
And, of course, you think he appreciates the cooler temperatures here?
Definitely. No, he likes the cool weather.
Thank you so much, Graham. Best of luck this week.
All right, thank you.
Right out on the racetrack. I've loved those interviews. Gabby from Horseback talking to a lot of trainers, talked to John Sadler yesterday. Graham Motion had a lot of success in the Breeders' Cup over the years.
Yeah, Better Talk Now, of course, will be one of the comes to mind for him.
You know, it's interesting what he said about the difference in his demeanor on the training track versus the main track, and I think you could carry that forward to the difference between demeanor in the morning to the afternoon in the races, which is in part why the trainers are opting to do the things they're doing in schooling horses in the paddock, in schooling them in the gate, in bringing them out here at different times of the day. It's all in anticipation of what they hope will be bringing a horse over in the afternoon that is settled and focused and able to take in all the variables.
You know, as we've had these reports from all around, I've gained a greater appreciation for just how expansive the facility is here at Keeneland, from obviously the barns way down there to the training track and over here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it, and we've touched on that, how this is as close to European facilities is. I mean, if we had the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, we'd have 6 reporters lined up on the grandstand, right, where all the trainers' clockers corner. Here, that's why we have them dotted all over the racetrack.
Caton, Olympiad is a horse that at the beginning of the year, when we saw him down at the fairgrounds, I thought he was emerging as one of the best older horses in America, and then all of a sudden Flightline put his campaign together and others. Is Olympiad a serious threat in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic?
Well, you know, I think the caveat is always a serious threat except for Flightline.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are looking at him amongst everybody else in the field, he has certainly earned his right in here, and I thought his last race, which was back in September in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, was by far and away his best race. I was just impressed with everything that he did in it. It might not have been as fast as some of his other wins, but he's a horse who kind of is on the verge of being a really top-notch horse. Has been knocking on the door all along. He's coming in fresh. I think by design, Bill Mott kind of has made the horse have to bring him.
Right.
And had to prove that he deserved the chance. But everything I've seen from him as far as physically how he's doing, how he's training, how he travels on the racetrack, says that he's poised for a big effort, and he's also just a beautiful animal.
Good-looking horse, slow developer, fits the Mott program perfectly to peak towards the latter part of the year. When you look at him on paper, this is I don't have an issue with him, but facts. He's beaten Cowboy Diplomacy, Silver Prospector, Proxy, American Revolution a couple of times. That's all good. He's developing. The one time he faced Life is Good, he got beat 9 lengths by him, and Hot Rod Charlie was in that race. But to Caden's point, you take Flightline out, Life is Good to me is the next best horse in there in Epicenter. If Life is Good doesn't see out the 1.25 miles, one thing in Olympiad's favor, I think he'll see that could be the deciding factor that brings those two together.
He's had a fantastic year. 6 wins from 7 starts. You mentioned that 1 loss in the Whitney. It was kind of a cuppy racetrack. Not every horse took to it. Maybe you throw that out, but even if you do, like you said, is it enough to step up against this competition and win? Track record holder down at the fairgrounds. Again, really good year for Olympiad, and it would punctuate a phenomenal year if he could pull off the upset in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Life is Good out on the track this morning as well. Simon mentioned he's the biggest threat to Flightline. Will he be the second choice in the wagering? If you want to make a side wager with Andy Serling, send him a direct message. At the starting gate this morning was Life is Good.
You saw him just walk in and then was backed out. And this is just trying to get him settled, relax, not go to the gate thinking the game is on, I got to get in there and get out as fast as possible. Right. You want the horses to be able to stand in the gate and be settled on all 4 feet, not restless, not rushing the gate, and especially with a horse like Life is Good, who is prone to speed and who is hopefully going to be in the mix and on the lead. You definitely don't want them over eager or acting up in the gate.
That's right, and there's multiple ways to school at the gate on a stand day like this. Some trainers like to walk out the front. You tend to do that with young horses a lot, to think of them going forward. A horse like this, you don't want to put him in the gate, walk him out the front. He's got draw reins on. He'd probably walk out in a tangle. But yeah, you're just replicating and trying to, cover and check all the boxes for things that will happen Saturday. This is him in the draw reins we're talking about. That gives the rider more leverage. I touched on this earlier in the week. They bow their head. They use their hind end. Horses in draw reins will develop a lot of muscle tone in the back end there because they get to push off. You don't want to see a horse pulling on themselves along. You want to see them pushing themselves along.
And Simon, at least up until this point, when he goes into the turn, I would say that he's a little bit more cooperative, giving in just a little bit more to the draw reins than he did in previous days that I've been watching him since his work. He's still a horse who kind of fights it a little bit, but he has always been like that. Amelia, who's been working with him since he came to Todd Pletcher's barn, has really been focusing on just trying to get him to settle just a little bit and maybe cooperate a little bit more. And I think it's a good sign that at least he is, while he's not really bowing his neck completely the way you would hope with the addition of the draw reins, he's not fighting them quite as much as he was earlier.
No, and because we get, every day you get further from the work, he's probably going to relax a little bit. You can see they're all get aggressive down the backside, and it's where they've switched their leads. So, and I said earlier this weekend, I don't know whether you heard, I think this is the difference between Flightline and Life is Good. The mental acumen of Flightline. He doesn't do this anymore. 18 months ago, Flightline looked just like this in his workouts. He's learned to develop and settle down. Life is Good from that standpoint has remained the same.
Life is Good going to try his early speed and take the field gate to wire in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. We're showing you Olympiad a little bit earlier. Olympiad has also made his way over to the gate, and Olympiad getting a good look at the starting gate here.
Yeah, it's just going to walk in and stand. You'll see a lot of this. I mean, you just want to get these horses to relax and stand in there and just replicate and say, why do this? I mean, he's had 12 races, but why do NBA players have a shoot around before a game?
Yeah.
Why do MLB players have batting practice when they play 160 games before every single game?
It's the routine, right?
Yeah.
It's just getting in a routine,
yeah.
And it may well be something that he does before he runs almost every time,
right.
Especially in Olympiad's case when he hasn't run since September and might be just a tad bit more eager than he would be otherwise, were he racing more regularly. You don't want to leave anything to chance.
Cyberknife. Caden, you had a chance to talk to Brad Cox throughout the week over at Churchill Downs. As we heard from Michelle Yu, Brad Cox is here. The decision for Cyberknife to go to the Big Ass Fans Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
I think he felt there was no flight line. I think that was the biggest factor in making the decision. Which of the races does he have a better chance to win? But I'd also say that maybe he's going to be more effective at a little bit shorter than 1.25 miles. So the 2 turns definitely works to his favor. His best effort recently was the Haskell at the 1 1/8 miles, where he set that stalking trip. But Brad has talked about the need for him to get away from the gate cleanly and well. And I think that is kind of the question mark. What happens in that very earliest stage of the race that could determine a lot of things. In my opinion, he's a better horse when he breaks well and then settles just a little off the pace with targets to run at versus when he's right on the lead. But he is a horse who's capable of taking the lead if it's given to him.
Feeling good. You see him bucking there down the backside. He was kicking up his back legs there. They're all feeling good this morning, and these horses look phenomenal coming into this week.
And he is now galloping without his regular exercise rider, though his rider now has experience with him. But he can be a little bit of a handful. He's a very playful horse.
All right, it's Wednesday with the first championship day coming up on Friday. So for the latest news, we go to Joaquin Jaime.
And Todd, for the news of the day, we're going to turn to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint Division. There is one international horse in there, and that is Chain of Love, representing Japan. When you look at the resume for Chain of Love, she has 22 lifetime starts. The majority of them have been on turf. It wasn't only until her last 6 races that she's actually been running on the dirt. So this has been something new for Chain of Love in her last 6 races, being on the main track. She's the only international runner in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint this year. Todd, we're only 3 days away from her race in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, but Chain of Love is expected to have a breeze today. She's going to be breezing at 9 o'clock. She's going to go at 9 o'clock on the main track and breeze 5 furlongs. So we'll make her way to the barn after that. She's stabled in barn 45. Todd will certainly follow up with the connections of Chain of Love after her 5 furlong breeze today, taking place at 9 a.m. on the main track.
Joaquin, thank you. So a lot coming up, especially over here, and the schooling that will take place with Flightline. Looking forward to that a little bit later on. And here's something you should be looking forward to, the FanDuel contest that we're going to have around the Breeders' Cup. FanDuel is giving out $20,000 in prizes to all Breeders' Cup fans, plus a free shot at $1 million. All you have to do is pick the correct order of finish in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile presented by the PDJF. Play for free at FanDuel.com or on the FanDuel app. When breakfast at the Breeders' Cup returns, we will see more from Flightline getting ready to school later this morning. Much more coming up here on FanDuel TV. It's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by WinStar Farm and Keeneland.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse win. If you want to be a part of all the NFL action, no one gets you in the game like FanDuel. This Thursday night when the Eagles take on the Texans, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. Just place a same-game parlay on Thursday night's game, and if you don't win, you'll get it back in free bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way, quickly and securely. Come see why FanDuel Casino promotions give you so much more than other online casinos. Join FanDuel Casino and play it again with up to $1,000 back if you're down on your first day.
Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby.
Champion 3-year-old.
Maximum Security has won the TVG.com Haskell Invitational.
11 triple-digit buyers.
Maximum Security, he smoked them in the Cigar Mile.
Grade 1 winning 4-year-old.
Maximum Security takes them all the way in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Secure your mare's future. Maximum Security.
It's a signature day with the signature race of this summer meet, the 32nd running of the TVG Pacific Classic.
And this is him. This is Flightline, your heavy favorite in the Grade 1 TVG Pacific Classic.
Said it all week. I believe Flightline is going to win this race, and he's going to win this race impressively.
And there's the roar from the crowd as the field for the Pacific Classic sent on their way. They all came away to an even beginning. Flightline makes it 2, now 3 as they go into the far turn. Flavion Pratt and Flightline are an embarrassing lead. It must be 15 lengths as they turn for home now. Flightline, 20 lengths clear. Flavion Pratt takes a hold and canters in the TVG Pacific Classic.
But even this exceeded my expectations. Absolutely outstanding.
What just happened?
That's Flightline, America's favorite horse. This is one of the best horses that racing's seen in a long time, so he's really a special horse.
Well, looking at coming ahead to this weekend, Flightline looking to be the most important horse in the world, the best horse in the world. And, you know, we've been talking to all of the connections around here, but did you know that there's a good chance that someone out there watching right now could end up being a connection? 2.5% of Flightline is going to be offered for sale right here at Keeneland on Monday.
We have been fortunate to be involved with some really, really talented racehorses, but Flightline just has a way of you know, it's hard to put into words. He just is so much better than the other horses he's running against that it puts him in another class altogether as a racehorse.
Well, we realized he was special right away. He never has hid his talent. He was always so willing and you know, such a good worker. He's just the exceptional athlete. He's the kid that's got all the talent, all the desire, all the physical attributes. He's the whole package.
We were here early one morning, on Saturday morning, watching Flightline work. One of his early first works when he first got here. And John has been training horses since 1978. And he turns to us. He said, I've never had a horse like this in my barn, ever.
And the way John emphasized it to us and how he communicated it with us, we knew that, okay, there's something really exceptional with Flightline.
Flightline is just, he pops when you see him. He's got class about him. He stands out in the crowd.
I can't remember an individual race where the anticipation and the excitement and the nerves were any higher than at the Pacific Classic with Flightline.
You know, when he settled down, going down the backside, you felt like, wow, this is going just how we'd hoped. This horse just does what he wants to do and does it when he wants to do it. And when he took off, it was pretty magical.
I remember watching the Belmont in Secretariat in 73. And I remember right about the same spot at the half-mile pole, you know, down the backside, and he started to widen. And I remember that feeling. So you project that forward to the Pacific Classic in 2022, and you know, it was electric. What makes Flightline so good? I wish I could put my finger on it, right? Because we invest a lot of money into horses. at a lot of different sales, and we tried for 31 years to get a flight line. And I hope it doesn't take another 31 years to get one, but I don't think we'll ever get one.
If Flightline was a human athlete, I guess I'd compare him to Usain Bolt. Just incredibly fast. Just a world record fast.
There are two that come to mind, right? Michael Jordan and LeBron James.
With Flightline, you'd be comparing him to Aaron Judge in baseball. He's dominating his competition right now. Flightline he's phenomenal. And, he's got the buzz out there. And I think every fan out there is excited about the Breeders' Cup. And we're going to see a huge audience for Flightline.
Flightline is currently the world's highest rated racehorse, and which is an amazing achievement. But with the numbers, he ranks as high, up there with the highest rated of all time.
To know that we have a part of his life and his career, I don't know that I or we have fully grasped all of that. It's pretty mind-blowing. That's a 1 in a bazillion, not even a million shot.
All right, welcome back here, and I'm joined right now by David and Gordo. No further title needed, certainly. David, I want to talk about the Flightline sale situation, because I can't remember any time that the best horse in the world has been available for a public purchase.
Yeah, I can't either, and I think between Keeneland's, this is something, I think they're having some foresight in what things could be in the future with the Metaverse, and then through all the ownership of Flightline having the vision to see what this could be as well. So it's a unique first-time experience that, number one, a horse like Flightline is going to be an interest of him sold at public auction.
All right, so it's 2.5%, which might not sound like a large amount, but he is in 40 shares. It's an equal share to other people.
That's right. So you're buying, I use a lot of analogies for people that are maybe first time understanding a stallion or a racing syndicate. So you're actually buying a piece of the horse. Like if you buy a share in Apple or Exxon, you own that equity. You own 1/40th of Flightline with all the bills or all the income that comes with it.
I mean, that's really exciting. When you're looking at the potential buyers, we're not going to put a price tag on what 2.5% of Flightline is, although I think it's all of our money combined and then some. But what kind of person is buying Flightline?
If you ask me to guess, my best guess is it's going to be someone within the industry that understands how unique this is and how to get a piece of a horse like this. We were talking before we went on screen here that there are people never own a winner, let alone a horse like a Flightline. So you're going to have industry people that understand the rare value of this, plus then his future breeding career. Mm-hmm. But if you told me some man in, Hong Kong, bought it online, it wouldn't surprise me either, because Flightline's transcended our industry like a lot of horses have not. So he's got worldwide appeal. But I think it's an industry professional at the end of the day.
And last question. You talked a little bit about the Metaverse, and I know that you have these Oculus glasses and all this stuff, but you don't need that to buy them, right? You can just old-fashioned walk up and raise your hand?
Yeah, you can apply with Keeneland for credit. That's a big one. And then you can walk in and bid on them. But they do have the Metaverse, which I needed my daughter to find the glasses because I was hoping we'd have them for this morning. But you can do that end of it, which it's not my thing because I'm getting old enough where I can't even turn my iPhone on. But I think for this next generation and a lot of people in the world, this is cutting edge, that a place like Keeneland is in the forefront of it. I don't know any other sporting franchise or anything done anything like this. So I think they're really on the front line. It's pretty cool.
I appreciate the time, David.
Thank you.
Mike Joyce, I don't know where you are, but maybe you can start a crowdfunding and all of us can put some money in and own 2.5% of Flightline.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take out credit with my brothers if I was going to get involved with that. But From a horse that the late Queen of England actually called William Farish and asked about in Flightline, to the winner of the Queen's Plate, who's in the saddling paddock here schooling at Keeneland. That is Moira. What an impressive filly she is when you see her in person. We've got a good shot of her, exercise rider aboard, taking it all in. Of course, I'm not the greatest reader of horse flesh, but even a novice can see what a pro she is and how relaxed and, to quote one of my colleagues, calm, cool, and collected. Really impressive last time out when she tried the turf for the first time. So good, finishing second to Rougier and that E.P. Taylor that they're going in the filly and mare turf this time. I mean, she is as talented a filly as we have here, just so lightly raced, only 6 starts with those 4 wins under her belt. But when she won the Queen's Plate, in most racehorses' careers, Todd, that is going to be the biggest victory of their life. The filly and mare turf, well, that could put her in a whole new strata.
Yeah, it was her first time on the grass last time out in the E.P. Taylor, and it was a dreadful trip. I remember watching that day. It was so dreadful that she caused interference and was disqualified from 2nd to 8th. But since that time, she's had a very quick work on the main track up at Woodbine. We're going to take a look at this now. It's 5 furlongs and 58 flat. It was the fastest work of the day at that distance out of 39 workers at this distance. So we're going back to October 29th up in Toronto, Canada at Woodbine. Here's Moira.
She's working in company here. And, I don't know this filly too well. I've never seen her work before, obviously north of the border. But on her page, it appears this is her MO. She works fast in the morning. So it's not like this came out of left field here, Kate. And she's working in company. That will always make a horse a little more aggressive as well.
What is cool to see, though, is the fact that her work, we know, is fast. And that's typical of her, and yet she looks like she's doing it very easily.
Yep.
At no point did you think she was going quite as fast as maybe the stopwatch says, and she does it kind of comfortably. The rider is not having to encourage her or ask her, but also wasn't fighting with her at any stage. So it looks like a very nice and very standard type of workout. The fact that she actually was settled this morning is also a good sign, Todd, because she has a reputation for being a little bit of a firecracker, especially pre-race. And I know that was one of the concerns going into the decision to come to the Breeders' Cup, was how she would handle new surroundings.
Frankie Dettori is going to have the ride aboard Moira, and he will be joining us on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup a little bit later on. Right now, Andy Biancone.
We're here with the horses of Roger Attfield, specifically Lady Spitespear. He'll be running in the filly and mare turf. And Roger has these stuffy hanging bears just outside the stalls of all his horses. Roger, what is the purpose of these bears?
Well, they don't always have to be bears. I use soft toys, and these are quite big actually. But the horses are in the stores like 23 hours of the day almost, and they get bored, and they have jolly balls, and sometimes you throw a cardboard box into studs and they play with them and this, that, and the other. And I found that the soft toys, they really, really like them. They get to putting them on their heads in the afternoon and playing with them, and I find that I start my young horses off with them, and they get to really like them, and I don't get anywhere near as many cribbers or weavers that I used to get because they're not bored,
So you think these soft toys have an even better effect in terms of calming them down, giving them some sort of enrichment, as opposed to jolly balls?
It seems like it. I mean, you get some horses that shred them in 2 seconds, so they get the jolly balls, but generally, they seem to like the softness of them. They rub their heads against them and they go to sleep with them. And in fact, actually, I've had a filly years ago called Miss Keller that was very tricky to train and very, very nasty in the stall. And when I started to introduce her to the soft toy, she was very manageable. She was really lovely. And actually, I think that photograph may have won the Eclipse Award that was taken at Saratoga, but she was asleep with her head on the teddy bear in the afternoon. And it's just another thing to keep them entertained,
Absolutely. Well, if you walk down the shed row of Barn 71 and you see the hanging bears, you'll know that it's Roger Attfield stalls. Keep an eye out for horses with stuffies on their heads, and thank you so much, Roger.
You're very welcome.
I mean, I've been in this game 30 years.
I know, and he's one of the most successful trainers in the game.
The only person I've ever seen with a teddy bear is you.
What? what? But did you know that about Roger Hatfield?
I did not, but I think if you think about it, it kind of makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, you would rather have something that's more comforting
Than
and
a
that's
hard
softer
plastic ball
than a
that you're
jolly
banging
ball
in.
that you're banging around the stall.
Yeah.
Gabby Gaudet had an intriguing statement at the open of the show. She said, we might play a game later. Are we about to do that, Gabby?
Yeah, maybe. We have a couple of games in store for the show this morning. I have a riddle for you, Todd Schrupp, or Caden or Simon, whoever wants to answer this. Okay, here's the riddle. They are parked now, but have wheels that make them go. Without them, there would be no show.
They're parked. I'm going, would you say a golf cart to take people to the grandstand? Or they are parked now, they have wheels. Without them, they no show?
Could be. They are parked. She said parked? Parked now?
The
the trucks.
satellite
Where
trucks.
are we, Todd?
Satellite trucks.
Satellite trucks, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
We are in the truck compound, and guys, we are going to introduce you to the people that make this show happen right now. This is the first room, and this is the audio room. Oh, man, I'm hearing myself. Sorry, guys. I don't know how any of this works. Good morning, team.
Wow.
Oh, what's going on here? Is this normal for Chad? Is this normal behavior? Yeah? Yeah, it is? Okay.
Hey, Gabby.
Chris Lee.
Yes.
How's it going this morning?
It's going well. We're getting a lot of Europeans coming out soon.
I don't want to, but this is honestly where the magic happens. And guys, I have no idea what any of these thousands of buttons do. Yes, Becky.
I need you to wrap it up. We got to get to break.
That's what they do.
Becky with the jokes. I will wrap it up. Do I have 10 more seconds? Okay, thank you, guys. This is, where are we? This is a tape, guys. See, that goes to show you. There are so many people involved, so many things involved, Todd, that we don't necessarily know, but thankful for us, we have this talented crew behind us.
We echo those sentiments from our set. Chad Noche, Bills Mafia. All right. We have much more coming up here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I think we're going to be playing some more games, but the biggest game of all is 2 championship days of racing. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup returns here on FanDuel TV right after this.
Longines. 70, 50, 75, 850, 75, 175, 175, 150, 175. Sprout, 850,000. Thank you.
Volatile, just like that. In front by 3, now by 4. And the time, 107.57.
As they pass the 16th pole, Volatile, victorious in the Vanderbilt. 1 by 2 lengths.
Sprout, 850,000. Thank you.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger.
Snake Nick Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, drawing line.
The purple cap, Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. Wheel them in line. Mongostine has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
A Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, War of Will became a classic winner with this victory in the Preakness Stakes. He added turf credentials to his resume with a determined victory in the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile, a winner and Grade 1 placed at 2, multiple graded stakes victor at 3, and Grade 1 winner again at 4. This son of War Front has proven his class at every level. A classic winner with a stallion's pedigree. War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
One of my favorite things about Breeders' Cup is it literally feels like a giant sleepover or camping session once everybody moves down to Rice Road. Every year you're stabled in the barn and you could be next to connections who you've never met in your life or horses you've always admired, and that is certainly the case for this year here in Barn 70 where I'm stabling Cinch. We've got a huge group of neighbors and I figured we should meet them. Right here we're on the side of Brad Cox. So we've got Caravel in here, cozied up in her blanket, getting ready to train. She's just snacking on her hay, having a little rest. And there she is, saying hello. We have Chop Chop, who's going to be running in the Juvenile fillies right here. Verifying, running in the Juvenile. And, of course, Cyberknife, who is currently walking around the shed row. Hi, Brad Cox Connections. Hi, guys. And as we walk around to the other side of the barn, let's see who we can find. First stall on this side, we've got Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike. He's sitting in his ice boots. Trainer Eric Reed doing an interview just over our shoulder, and he looks fantastic. What I've been told about this horse is he will take a grab of you, so we have to watch out. He actually grabbed a girl in Saratoga and held onto her for like 3 minutes, and they had to pry his jaws off of her. So Richie is one to watch for sure, but he likes it when you grab his tongue. You're safe as long as you're holding his tongue. Hi, guys. Connections of Rich Strike here. And as we get over here, we see the Todd Fincher horses. Senor Buscador just trained, so he is out of his stall. We have Slammed, our filly and mare sprint friend, just getting ready. We're going to go school her at the gate, so she's just standing and waiting for that. And on this side, we have Horatio de Paz, we have Rudy Rodriguez with their fillies, and of course, Oreo the goat, who has had, this is his 5th home apparently. He's quite the naughty goat. He's known to lunge, but he keeps Be Your Best, who is running in the Juvenile fillies company. And Rudy, as you can see, has the magic touch, has befriended the devil himself. So those are the neighbors of Barn 70, and keep an eye out for them as they train later today.
I want, live in Andy B. Cohn's neighborhood and also have her as a neighbor. Very, very friendly, very nice. If you live next to Scott Hazelton, he's constantly yelling, "Get off my lawn!"
Yeah,
he's right now out at the training track with Rishi Prasad.
No, it's more stay out of the kitchen, and we'll be getting to that later on here this afternoon when we're playing some pickleball. But Highfield Princess finally did come out. She went the wrong way, then turned back around, took one lap the right way before stopping and then jogging off. So a very light bit of training this morning for Highfield Princess.
She won't need much in preparation for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Jason Hart, her regular rider, is here. He was on board this morning. Seemed pretty chipper with the way she felt. She's exciting. I mean, I know Golden Pal is going to prove a hard nut to crack, but I think she is going to serve it up to him. I don't think, if she's her best, I fancy her to take him down.
Why do you say that?
I think she is one of the best sprinters we've brought out here on turf in a long time. Her improvement over her career has been fantastic. Prior to this season, Scott, she'd never run over a sprint distance, and this season she's had a go at sprinting, and suddenly she's blossomed, and she's blossoming all the time as well. And I don't think her last run was her best. Every run that she's produced from the summer onwards, she's got better and better and better. She won the Maurice de Guise in France. She went to the Nunthorpe at York, and she was extremely impressive. And then she went from there to the Flying Five. She cruised home in ground that I don't think she would have been appreciating I think she's going to be very hard to beat personally.
We look forward to seeing her. Glass Slippers, don't forget, was able to pull this one off just a few years back for those European connections. But let's find out more through her trainer, John Quinn, on Highfield Princess and her opportunity this weekend in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
You don't win the non-port by 2.5 lengths.
Highfield Princess stretching away, scorching away, breathtaking.
It seems almost supernatural to have automatic entry for the Breeders' Cup. It's a bit like with dogs, you know how connected you are with your dog. She was about to go racing and she bit me on the arm, and I knew she was feeling good, I mean, so the connection is very similar as with dogs, I think. You are terribly connected, I think, if you own a horse and see it as well. Whereas I'm lucky, I see her every day, and out of my kitchen window. After she won the Maurice de Geest in Deauville, that's when we thought, oh yeah, come on, we can take on the French.
It took her 13 hours to get to Deauville, which is quite, and you know yourself, one thing that tires you is travelling. She's got a wonderful temperament, but she seemed to take the French race really well. And then what she did at York was phenomenal, really. We're really thinking, if all goes well, to run her in Ireland and then just go to America.
They were always very ambitious, the Breeders' Cup people, and they did see it even from the start as a national and then probably a world championship. I think they were always thinking of the Super Bowl. They'd seen what a sport could do. That was one of the things that was driving them to feel that they could create something which they have now done. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It is the World Championships, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be going with my horse. I've got 3 daughters and 3 grandchildren. 2 of them are girls, and they were all there. And they're, it's not even a question. Yes, they're coming, I'm afraid Keeneland's doomed to see this gang descend on them.
John Quinn, John Fairley, Highfield Princess, and John Fairley responsible for you and your first break in television. How many years back, Rich?
20 years ago, Scott. 20 years ago, the owner of Highfield Princess, John Fairley, was part of the team that was starting a company called At the Races, and they gave me a screen test 20 years ago, and well, somehow, boldly, he took a chance, and here we are today, 20 years later, and I'm watching his horse running in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Exciting times for him, for sure.
It is, no question. So we appreciate that piece from World Horse Race as we're taking a look right now onto the track at Nashua. She and Mishriff both out here for John Gosden. This is the Frankel filly who's made over $1.2 million. She's only been defeated 3 times in her career, and most recently in the Prix de l'Opera at Longchamp. But as we talked about yesterday, one of the more likely European invaders that you would point towards as a banker, a winner, if you will, for this Breeders' Cup weekend.
Yeah, the thing I like about Nashua as well is that she had quite a lot of racing in the early part of the year. She ran, obviously, in the Oaks at Epsom. She ran out of stamina over 1.5 miles on that occasion. Then she went to the French Oaks, more in keeping with her distance, 1.25 miles, and she won there. And then she had one run in July where she won the Nassau Stakes at Glorious Goodwood. After that, she was specifically put away for a little bit of a break. She didn't run again till October, as you mentioned, on Arc weekend when she finished second. And she was a bit unlucky on that occasion because she had a tough draw, yet she remains relatively fresh. I like the fact that she had that break through the end of the summer into October, and she looks on great terms with herself, as does Mishriff. Both the John Gosden horses look fantastic.
Yeah, we see Mishriff just coming behind us, easy canter on this training track, on the all-weather training track here at Keeneland Racecourse, but Nashua is such a big built filly behind. That's the best way of putting it. She just had a horse go to her inside, reacting to that a bit, but that horse was going pretty quickly past her, but she's now refocused. I mean, she's just a compact.
She's lovely. Yeah. She's got a lovely long stride on her when she gets clear. The only concern I'd have about Nashua is her getting clear sailing in the straight. I think if she gets clear sailing, I don't think anything's going to stop her from winning. I think she's obviously very high class. She brings high class European turf form into this race, classic European turf form into this race, and I think she's the one to beat. It's only if circumstances conspire against her.
Well, the fact that you mentioned she's coming into this race with just that recent run obviously gives you indication that they've been looking at this Breeders' Cup card for some time, and as we see her on the other side of the training track where we stand, she's nearest Rice Road. She has just caught up with Mishriff, who's just going easy. I mean, he's in his own world right now, just doing his own thing, is he not?
Well, he's an old pro. Very few horses will have clocked up the air miles that Mishriff has over the years. I mean, obviously, surprisingly, this is his first appearance at a Breeders' Cup. But, of course, he is a Saudi Cup winner. He won the Shima Classic. And versatility as well. The Saudi Cup, 9 furlongs on dirt. The Shima Classic, 1.5 miles on turf. And then he won the Juddmonte International. He won the French Derby. He's a 3-year-old. He's got a wonderful CV. This season, his CV lacks a victory. He's run a couple of good races in defeat. He was a bit unlucky in the Eclipse at Sandown. But he knows his way around training tracks around the world. And here at Keeneland, he's settled in. He looks like he's settled into his routine really nicely. He looked on great terms on his first stretch yesterday, Scott, and his skin looks great. He's got great muscle tone on him. I wouldn't be surprised if he put in a big run. And obviously, Frankie Dettori will be aboard Mishriff for his final run in his illustrious career.
Nashua just pulling up in front of us here as she's I think she wanted to do a little bit more, to be honest with you. I don't think she was quite done, but they've asked her to wrap things up. Let's go to a horse that was out with Highfield Princess yesterday when we first kicked off the show at 7 a.m. She's been out here to the training track as well. Spirit Gal for Charles Fipke. She's got a white blaze. And an interesting story on the trainer side of things.
Yeah, the trainer is better known from the sales world, Willie Brown. I think the most winners he's ever had in a season is somewhere around 4. He's got a very small team of horses, and he's well known in the racing circles. But her run when she won a listed race at Dundalk last time was the first time he'd ever had a runner in a listed race. I mean, this is a huge, huge step up in class for not just the horse, but the trainer as well. So it'll be quite exciting to see what she can do. Interestingly enough, she might be a bit of a long shot. Certainly in the morning line odds, Scott, but back in the UK there's a bit more, or in Ireland and Europe, there's a bit more respect for her. There's certainly a belief that she can run well. She beat a colt called Cairo last time out. Cairo was a potential run in the Breeders' Cup for Aiden O'Brien, so her form isn't that bad. I would not be dismissing Spirit Gal.
She gets Ricardo Santana Jr. in the saddle in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. That's race 8 on the Future Stars Friday card, 20-1. On the morning line. We have Kinross out here now, one of the leading contenders for the FanDuel Mile. We'll keep an eye on these Euros as they're out here on the training track, but let's kick it over to Michelle Yu.
Well, guys, I'm standing out here with Senor Buscador, who's having a little bit of grass. And I think one of the cool things about Senor Buscador is actually his mom. Rose's Desert is her name, and she was a homebred for Joe Peacock Sr. She ended up winning over $600,000 on the track and 7 stakes in New Mexico, and they thought she could be our cornerstone broodmare. Well, she has been for the family, but she's the only broodmare that they have as well. But in addition to Senor Buscador, who will go postward in the Breeders' Cup on the undercard, she also has stakes winner Sheriff Brown, and if you'll remember from a few years back, Runaway Ghost, who was on the Kentucky Derby Trail. They've also got a stakes-winning filly from the family as well. She's not the only mare, though, that has a couple of runners on the Breeders' Cup card. And we have to talk about Marion Ravenwood. She's the dam of not only Nest, but also Lost Ark, who will go postward in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, guys. A lot of family ties here on Breeders' Cup weekend.
It certainly is passed down through generations. We're waiting for the main track to reopen after the renovation break. We'll have many more stars from the Breeders' Cup coming on the track here at Keeneland, and you'll see it right here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by Windstar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse.
I'm very bullish on it.
Tom's D'Etat's got a 4-length lead at the 16th pole. Tom's D'Etat has conquered the Clark.
Your best horses of the last 10 or 15 years are not consistently as fast as this horse.
It's total domination for Tom's D'Etat.
He's a beautifully balanced horse and a really good mover, and he's just full of class.
We'll make a new bet around every 2 seconds. Not only on the game, but on the game of life. Betting that love is just a swipe away. Betting on picking up that curious hitchhiker carrying a bowling bag. And betting that he doesn't turn out to be a cornhole prodigy. Every moment in life is a bet. But life doesn't offer you up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. So bet on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. And make every moment more.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
We've talked about the sheer expanse of the grounds here at Keeneland Racecourse. This is a good example, watching the horses come up the path eventually to get onto the main track here at Keeneland.
Yeah, certainly you can see all the barns in the back there. I think, sometimes it's hard to show the scope and the expanse of this place through a 2-inch lens of a camera, but it's pretty big.
And as the sun comes up, it really is a sight to behold, even at a distance.
Yep.
Or if you're driving in Rice Road, the horses actually walk up the hill on the horse path over the road or past the road. So you stop and just kind of watch this incredible fleet of amazing racehorses making their way up.
Something we haven't touched on is, why are the Europeans mainly on the training track?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I have to go to Rishi for that.
Well, but is it mainly, aren't they on all-weather racetracks most of the time training? I know
Yes.
it's different. But
Yeah, I mean, that could be something to do with it. I mean, maybe a little less traffic, I don't know.
And, when the horses used to come over to the Arlington Million from overseas, they did the same thing. Oftentimes they would train, and that training track wasn't even an all-weather or synthetic surface, but I think it's just that smaller, more combined area that enables the horsemen to kind of let them stretch their legs without doing too much.
Right. Take them away from the kind of the arena competition, so they don't think that they're going to do too much.
You can see behind us schooling sessions going on, and they're getting ready to open the main track.
Yeah.
The crowd that is here now for the mornings leading up to the Breeders' Cup is as big as the afternoon at most racetracks across the country. So the activity and the anticipation of what's about to happen certainly has picked up as we get closer to 2 championship days of racing this Friday and this Saturday here at Keeneland. So the field and many of the horses coming out onto the main track. Let's check in with Rishi Prasad.
Yeah, just picking up on what you guys were talking about and why a lot of the European horses are stretching their legs on the synthetic. Well, the majority of training surfaces back in the UK are synthetic surfaces, and they all believe it's kinder to the horse, and so the horses are very used to this. And obviously, of the first couple of days, I think they're playing safe and allowing the horses to be on something that they feel familiar with, and so they feel at home. Aiden O'Brien's horses, Charlie Applebee's horses, Charlie Applebee's horses had a little spin yesterday out on the turf. But I think it's important for these horses to get into as comfortable a routine as possible. And certainly, as you know at home, Simon will know, back in the UK, now the majority of training centres in Newmarket, Lambourne, Middleham, the majority of their training centres use synthetic surfaces all-weather surfaces to allow the horses to have a little bit more cushion, and also to combat the variety of weather that we have to endure during the year, whether it's lots of rain, cold weather, etc., frosted ground. That is what they all train on for the majority of the time. So familiarity here at Keeneland for our Euros.
And Simon, you've always said that you felt that the synthetic racetracks were better for training than, in some cases, racing in the
I think so. And Rishi pointed out there that, not only is it to reduce the concussion factor, a little more bounce, a little more cushion, like running on a treadmill as opposed to running on a hard blacktop. But it also, in the UK, it's in terms of weather. And it was interesting to see how the synthetic era kind of failed in California because it didn't fare well under the hot weather, the sun. But I think when it's frost, when it's cold, it's very good. A la Turfway Park in the winter here. I mean, the track does very well. But, yeah, I think it's a great training surface.
Michael Dickinson, no need to call FanDuel TV. We know that your synthetic surface is still in Northern California. On the main track
a little cooler up there.
Yeah. The main track here at Keeneland, it is Aiden O'Brien's horses coming out, led by Order of Australia, upset winner of the mile on the turf just 2 years ago here at Keeneland. Last time they had the Breeders' Cup here. So when they come out here, single file, are they going to go around once, twice?
Probably. Depends. Okay. You see, they're all jogging off the right way. North American horses used to jog in the wrong way, but they jog the right way. So usually led by an older horse. They come out in single file, usually led by an older, experienced horse. So, as Christina pointed out yesterday, it's like a line leader in class. You want somebody up front that knows what they're doing, right? I mean,
well, it kind of does establish order the rest of the way.
Right.
As one follows. I mean, they kind of take their cues from each other.
Right.
And if the lead horse started to act up a little bit, you might see a bit of a chain reaction going down the line.
I've followed some people before and gone right off the edge of the cliff. So
I know the company you keep.
Yes,
so
exactly. So I want somebody up front that knows what they're doing.
And you wonder why I need a teddy bear. So with Aiden O'Brien, is this something that's been passed down to him, what we're seeing here? Is this always been?
This is very typical of a European style. So, I mean, I mentioned this yesterday, but some tuning in for the first time. In North America, a big trainer at most might have 9 or 10 horses go out at once. And I'm talking about the mega barns.
Oh, Flightline is leaving John Sadler's barn.
Yeah, can you hear?
Flightline is leaving John Sadler's barn.
Yeah, he just cleared air traffic control to go back into his stall.
Right.
But this is what they do normally. They train in single file, groups of 40, 50, 60. Typically, in my experience, the colts go at the front and the fillies at the back for obvious reasons, biological reasons. We don't, the breeding season doesn't start till they've retired off the racetrack. So that's the plan usually. And like I said, it's usually an older, experienced horse up the front that's leading the crew. So my guess is here they're going to be jogging around the racetrack and then just break into a canter and maybe take a 1 or 1.5 laps around here.
And Aiden O'Brien has supported the Breeders' Cup significantly. And you would have to say his support, along with so many European horsemen and women bringing horses over, has led to the expansion on Future Stars Friday of those turf races, like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And
I think it's been, I think to bring a 2-year-old over here for the Europeans from the start of the Breeders' Cup, I think it was very hard. Razi had a lot to do with that, I think, and proved it could be done. But, yeah, they're a big supporter. I think one telling comment from his interview with Rishi yesterday, and Rishi and I, we were at dinner last night, we were talking about this, and I've never really heard this before. He said, what keeps you coming back? And he goes, defeat. It's defeat because it makes you want to come back. If you lose, you lose something, or you lose a race, you want to replace it. You want to make sure you get back there.
So are we going to the gate here?
They're going to school in the gate, and I think this is something that you've seen evolve as far as what they're doing before the races. In the earliest days of the Breeders' Cup, when the Euros would come over, and particularly Aiden's horses, they stuck to what they always did at home, and you didn't see them school at the gate very often. But as years have progressed, I think that they've felt that the horses benefit from the opportunity to go into this U.S.-style starting gate situation. And, of course, the starting gate crew benefits as well because this is the only opportunity they have usually to work with these horses.
This is a big factor. Since the Breeders' Cup, how many years are we into this? 37, something like that? I think the starting gate, I totally agree with what Caden said. I think you've seen an evolution, more schooling here. I don't think this occurred, 25 years ago.
Well, how many is he going to line up here?
He'd probably pack as many as he can in there, and it simulates them standing next to each other. It's good. Remember, in the UK, they don't have a stalls handler in the stall with them. So, that was a lot of the problem. The two main differences, they don't have a stalls handler. So when somebody jumps up on the shelf there and stands up, it can spook horses. You see, they have stalls handlers in. We've seen European horses request that they don't have a stalls handler. But remember, they got one on the other side of them, and that can spook a horse. And the second thing is, and we saw this last year on this Breakfast of the Breeders' Cup show, it's the bell. There's no bell rung when the gates open. Do you remember there was a European runner last year that schooled at home, and they used a fire alarm bell to practice? And this is my theory for many years. I thought European horses sometimes broke slow in their first start, not because they're slow, but when they heard the bell, they might just sit back on their back feet a little bit.
And Aiden O'Brien has a quartet in the starting gate right now. They're sitting there a long time. Is this longer than normal?
No. I mean, if you were waiting for a race, that's probably as long as they would sit in there, right?
And they're going to have them stand for as long as it takes for everybody to just stand and behave. Now, if it happens right away that everybody's doing it, then it's only about another minute. And remember, the gate is open to the other Breeders' Cup horses and any other horses as well. So there may be some other horses mixed in. And that can be a good thing, too, because they're used to training with each other. But when they go to race in the afternoon, they're going to be around horses that they're not familiar with.
Exactly. Aiden's right down there. You see the gentleman with the blue jacket with the logo on the back there? Tennis shoes. He's supervising. And he'll be talking to the assistant starters and the starters. He won't actually be doing a whole lot there. He'll turn it over to the assistant starters and the star. This horse might go in again. I don't know. Sometimes I used to put them in one stall, back them out, and then walk them and just stand them in another stall.
All taking their turns under the watchful eye of Aiden O'Brien.
There's the other group coming in. Tuesday. It's a good horse right here. They walk in perfectly.
Tuesday has a win over Nashua, who is expected to be the heavy favorite in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf.
And this is a nerve-wracking moment for a trainer, believe me, because, look, they've done this before, but I think anytime you're in and around the starting gate, there's a potential for something to not go well.
Now, at one time, I believe that the gate stalls themselves were a little bit more narrow in North America than was the case in Europe. I don't know if that's still the case or not.
Yep. I think, obviously they don't have the shelf in there in Europe, the ledge to where the assistant starters stand. I think sometimes narrower the better if they get used to it. There's less movement.
They actually feel comforted. It's almost blanketed by the surrounding stalls, the stall walls, and just no place to kind of move around is almost better.
Simulates the FedEx pallet they fly on, or in the back of a horse van, a single stall where there's less movement.
Well, we saw Olympiad earlier this morning at the gate. We saw Life is Good. Was it conducted any differently than what we're seeing here with Aiden O'Brien's horses?
No, they're all going in, standing in, and going backwards, backing out.
Andy Biancone is waiting patiently with another horse, not in the Aiden O'Brien yard, but a horse we've become familiar with. That is Slammed, getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Let's go on to the track with Andy Biancone.
Todd, we're waiting here. As you can see, there's quite a queue for horses waiting to stand in the gate. I've got Slam with me now. She's being pretty well behaved, although every time she hears that gate kind of move a little bit, she gets a bit amped up. These horses are smart. They know what the gate is, and it's almost like a runner going onto starting blocks, right? There's always that little bit of anxiety when you get onto those blocks when you're about to race, and it's the same thing for the horses. So the more times we can bring them in, the Breeders' Cup races, these are huge fields, and oftentimes horses have to wait quite a while inside the gate before it's time to go. And just bringing horses to stand a couple days before the race teaches them to have that patience, teaches them to take a deep breath while they're in there, and just teaches them to be relaxed because it is so important to get a good break. I remember Christina earlier in the week was explaining how horses need to be able to take a deep breath, and same with the rider as well. They just need to be able to relax in order to get a good start. If you're tense, holding your breath, horses can stumble, anything can happen, they could break sideways. So having this practice a couple days out before the race is absolutely essential for any of these horses.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a line here. I mean, normally that's probably a longer wait than what you'd normally expect during training hours, but the Europeans are used to walking around behind the starting gate. If you notice, in North America, we warm up on the track. when horses in the U.S. walk to the starting gate in a race, they walk behind the gate and they start loading. In Europe, they congregate behind the gate for a good 5, 10, 15 minutes. Now they're jogging away. And by the way, one of Aiden's did go in twice. I think it was Toy, went in one stall, like stall 3, stood, backed out, and then went into another stall.
So keep walking.
They've checked that box. Now they go ahead and do their exercise. And there's real quick going on here, but there's some trainers have the philosophy of standing at the gate before exercise. Some want to exercise, take the edge off, and then go in the gate.
Keaton, there's another aspect to this, too, and that is the starting gate crew is getting the book on a lot of these horses, too, through this.
Absolutely, and I believe that the starters have been the ones to kind of encourage trainers to bring horses back, especially those that have never raced at Keeneland before or here in Kentucky, because they just gain some familiarity with their idiosyncrasies. What are the things that trigger the horses? What are the things that can comfort them to keep them calm? And some like to be handled or told what to do. Others want to do it on their own. And so they're able to take notes and kind of learn from that. And you can see with Slammed right now, I heard Andy ask Rudy, I believe that's Rudy on her back, do you want to stand? Do you want to keep walking around? Some of them are great just taking it all in, and then others need to just be kept occupied.
Yeah, keep moving forward, and you're going to see Slam go in the gate here.
Andy, how is Slammed reacting to this?
So professional. She's really surprised me, and this is just a testament of, what a racehorse she really is, because she's typically a very high-strung, strong filly, and she just walked in here like a pro, stood like a pro. Typically, it's funny, the Europeans started the trend of walking in a circle back here. Typically, American horses will stand and wait for our turn. So once they cleared, we kind of just stood for our turn, but she's absolutely doing fantastic in there. As you can see, Jonathan Thomas is giving his filly some pets on the butt, and this is just really essential, just to, like Todd said, for the gate crew to get to know these horses, for these horses to have a minute to just decompress in there and realize, like, okay, we need to take a deep breath before go time. As you can see, Slammed is being super well behaved. She's a seasoned pro, and she's extremely fast from the gate, so it doesn't surprise me that she's just being so good and professional. I'm actually going to take her back now, and Rudy's going to tell me whether we're going to gallop together or if he's going to take her on her own. Sometimes horses, after they stand in the gate, can be a bit keen to gallop afterwards. Like, if you stand and then go gallop, they're typically even stronger than when you just gallop them on their own or if you gallop out of the gate. So we're just going to check with Rudy. We're going together. Okay, so I'm going to get tied on. All right, Todd, back to you.
Andy Biancone is actually working during the middle of the show. Like, aside from being part of the broadcast, she's doing an excellent job ponying out there. And let's check in with Joaquin.
Todd, nobody's won more purse money in Breeders' Cup history than the Hall of Famer Bob Baffert, over $38 million. And Bob having his first morning here at Keeneland Racecourse. We saw your 3-year-old Table on the track just a moment ago. What'd your eyes see today?
It seemed like he shipped very well. All of them did. And so he just went out there for a little stroll. The track looks in great shape. And, it's nice to be out here and you see all these top trainers and all these top horses. You see them go by there. So it's pretty exciting.
And then what's the rest of your morning look like? Are you guys done, or do you have a couple more coming out?
No, I'll probably hit the pastry bar again one time. I already hit it earlier today. Had a little coffee, but they got a great pastry bar up there. But it's fun, you run into old friends and stuff. So it's exciting.
7 years ago, you brought a Triple Crown winner here in 2015 with American Pharoah. John Sadler clearly has a very high-profile horse, so you've been in his shoes. You know what he's going through. What's John Sadler's Breeders' Cup week like with Flightline?
He probably hasn't slept very well all week long, Well, you know what it is? He's in a good spot. I mean, we knew we were in a good spot, but, you still need the racing luck. You need everything to go. I remember I was invited to all these parties and dinners. I didn't want to go. I was just focusing on American Pharoah. And then when he turned for home, I thought to myself, I should have gone to all those parties. And why did I get so nervous? But I think Flightline, I've been watching him train in California, and I just don't. He's going to be really tough. He's just an extraordinary athlete. He reminds me of Pharoah if he would have run at 4. He's that kind of horse, like Justify and Irrigate. He's just, he's a superior racehorse, and it's going to be fun, to watch. People love watching great horses run, and I think he's he's definitely the star of the show, and I have Taba in there where, you know, I'd be happy to run second, you know. I'll take it, you know. So, but we're enjoying ourselves.
I know you got to get back to the barn, but lastly here, your 2-year-old, the odds-on morning line favorite, Cave Rock. How's Cave Rock doing coming into the FanDuel Juvenile?
Shipped well. We're going to bring him out here right now. We're going to take him to the gate, stand him in the gate, and National Treasure, he's going really well also. So it's, you know, it's all about having your horse, you know, ready to go. It's like the playoffs, you know. You better be ready, you know. Your bat better be hot, you know. And yeah, when that gate comes open, you better get you know, have a good position, and hopefully they break well. And all you can ask for is that when they turn for home, that you can root for your horse. You're in a position where you can root for your horse, and that's a good feeling.
Well, Bob, we know you'll always be ready. Appreciate the time. Have a good morning here.
Thank you.
Happened to be in that restaurant that Bob Baffert was talking about. It really was a who's who of the Breeders' Cup. At one point, there was a conversation with Bob Baffert, Mike Repole, and Chad Brown. I would like to have dropped in on that one. But Bob Baffert with one of the better observations about the dominating win by Flightline in the TVG Pacific Classic. When Flightline won off by 19 1/4, Bob Baffert's Country Grammar was second, and Bob observed Country Grammar thought he had won the race because Flightline was so far in front. But here is Taba. And, you know, Caton, while we're all talking about can they beat Flightline, there's a lot on the line for the 3-year-olds in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, because when you look at Taba, when you look at Epicenter, you could even maybe throw Rich Strike into that conversation. As far as the Eclipse Award for Outstanding 3-year-old, how those 3 perform here could determine who ultimately gets the Eclipse Award.
So much respect for Taba. In only his 3rd career start off his win in the Santa Anita Derby, he was bet down to 5-1 odds. I mean, this is a horse that showed a lot of brilliance early on and was kind of fast-tracked to try to make the Kentucky Derby. He's now had a chance to regroup and improve, and I really think he's one of the few in the classic field that we don't know how good he is.
Let's go to Andy Biancone's side hustle, ponying out on the racetrack.
We're live right now. Slammed has been amazing galloping around. I mean, I was like, great, my arm is going to be falling off. My feet are barely touching the stirrups. These are like really long stirrups. But she's been amazing. This is just helping her keep relaxed, and she's been very happy. I mean, she's dead fit, so all we got to do is just keep her bubble wrapped and safe to the race, and this is just ensuring she can have a nice, easy, relaxed gallop today, and Mouse has just been an excellent partner. So, as you can see, Rudy's got his hands down. The key to this filly is not moving those hands. The second he lifts his hands off her neck, she is going to run off, like completely gone. So, Rudy has, as I like to say, hands you can't get at Walmart. And just keeping her nice and relaxed. And we're going to pull up right now. Oh, Mommy. Oh, girl. Good girl. Good mama.
Only breakfast at the Breeders' Cup could take you up this close in the morning.
Can I just say, I have been where Andy is. I ponied horses through college, and I've also been a horseback reporter. You cannot, it is so hard to do 2 things at once like that. To talk, to report, and to ride, and also make sure that the horse that you're escorting is in good shape and is calm and getting everything that they need from you and the pony. She couldn't do it better. I couldn't have done it at all. Microphone was enough to hold, and my horse, much less worry about another one.
And it's something you don't see typically. I mean, this is just another way of training. We've seen horses, you know, pony without the rider. And the reason behind this, Andy touched on it there, is that if Slammed is not, you know, restrained with the pony next to her, then she's going to do too much. She's going to run off. She's a very fast horse, and you don't want that. So you just got to keep her under control, and the pony's job is to do that.
Excellent work, Andy, and excited to see Slammed, the New Mexico bred, in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, which will be exclusively on FanDuel TV, as FanDuel TV brings you the first 2 championship races on Saturday at the Breeders' Cup. We have more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup coming on FanDuel TV right after this.
When the thoroughbred world descends upon Lexington this November, there is one place you need to be. The place where history comes alive with every championship victory.
He's authentic indeed.
The place where the future is built with the fall of a gavel. The place that exists to be the heart of this industry. The center of it all. Home to the November breeding stock sale and 2022 Breeders' Cup, Keeneland.
You called that touchdown. Saw that sack coming. Predicted the pizza tasted better than it looks. And, of course, you knew the game's not over until it's over. So this NFL season, put your skills to the test with FanDuel's free games for a shot at $1 million in prizes. FanDuel, make every moment more.
Hey, big man. Oh, hey. Dave told me you got some kind of great system for betting that really works.
It's true.
What is it? Is it like home dogs? No. It's bird mascots.
No, I just use FanDuel's responsible gaming tools like time and spending limits to manage my play.
That's the system.
Hasn't failed me yet.
Cool. You know what, man? I'm just going to keep this between you and me.
It's not a secret, Bob.
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours. It's more fun that way.
Longines.
Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup 2022 as we are here live at Keeneland Racecourse. So the Breeders' Cup, you could also call it the Bloodstock Agents Cup, like owners, trainers, everyone involved in the sport. This is really where it all leads to, as I'm with Tom Ryan, who's well known and has picked out plenty of good horse. But for you, this day, I mean, this is, give me that journey, picking one out to a sales ring and then getting here to the Breeders' Cup. What's it like?
Look, this is amazing. This is the pinnacle of our sport. The champion of champions. This is, if you want to be noticed in the world of horse racing, you need to be participating on this date. We're very fortunate. We're surrounded by a great team. We've got Donato Lani, Bob Baffert. Outside of that, we've got Eddie Woods, who prepares our 2-year-olds. We've got Caroline Wilson, who's a big part of our team, and Sam Crisp, who works with Donato. So none of this happens. You don't walk in there and go, I'll take that one. There's a massive team effort involved in putting all of this together. And then we have to be very thankful to the owners, the people that support us on a year-in, year-out basis. And, we've gone from a single owner model to a partnership model. And, it's a lot of fun. It takes us all over the country, all over the world. And this is the future of the industry in my mind.
You really wanted to talk about those partnerships and how it's really changed the ownership, but it's also been good for the industry as far as getting more people involved and getting more people involved with more horses.
Absolutely. It creates a lot better economics in the sales ring. It's no doubt it does create more competition for us as individuals, but a rising tide floats all boats, and that's very important to us. And it's all about growing the game. We're not trying to. We want the game to expand. We want racing to expand. We want to see younger people get involved in the game. We want to make this sport attractive, and we want to make this sport more mainstream again.
Let's talk about some of the horses you're involved with. National Treasure, of course, and the Juvenile is certainly one you're looking forward to, but that's not the only one you're involved with. Yeah,
we've got National Treasure in the Juvenile. He's a beautiful colt by Quality Road. He was actually the first horse we bought at Fezzik Tipton last year. He's coming in here, tough assignment behind Cave Rock, but he's got the same trainer, which gives him an advantage, and he's got Johnny V, which, you got 2 Hall of Famers and you got a horse by champion stars. So we're excited about him. We've got Messier coming back, making his first start of the year in the undercard, which is exciting. Let's see where he takes us as a 4-year-old. And then we have 2 fillies that Donato Lani bought us with an additional group called the X-Men. And Moira has already won the Queen's Plate, looks set to be potentially champion 3-year-old and horse of the year in Canada. She could really make a statement here on Friday in the fillies and Mare. She's really doing well. Beautiful mare. And we have a filly called Last Call who broke her maiden in the Natalma English Channel filly. She's now a Grade 1 winner, and she's set to take on the juveniles here.
Best of luck. I know it's a lot of work for you, but enjoy the weekend and hopefully some of your charges do well.
Thank you very much.
As we go to Michelle, don't let the accent fool you. He just got his American citizenship. So if you're wondering which Avenger, Captain America.
Oh, Mike, I'm going to take one accent. I'm going to raise you another one. I'm joined right now by Amy Murphy. And now you came up to watch Simon Christopher's Philly Flotus train, but really, I've just been watching you take selfie after selfie.
Yeah, no, obviously it's a great spectacle seeing Aiden's out here on the track and everything like that. And I'm hosting a Twitter page this week for a social media company at home. So I'm trying to get as much clippets as I can for the page. So
I think it's fun. We call them Aiden's Army, but you call them the battalion.
Yeah, absolutely. They are a battalion, especially when you watch them go around there. Serious firepower. So exciting to be able to be here and watch it all.
Now, you have your horse Manhattan Jungle, and you said that you were going to school in the gate tomorrow, but you came to check it out today. Is it different? Is it what you expected?
Yeah, obviously your gates are different to ours, and the way that you work them are different to ours. So I just wanted to come and she's touch wood, a very good filly in the gates. She's seen French gates, English gates, so she's got a bit of experience. But I just wanted to come and see how it all works down here before bringing her tomorrow.
Is there one thing you can maybe just point out to us that's different from the U.S. gates and the UK gates?
Yeah, I think even watching horses reverse out here, we wouldn't do that at home. Okay. We'd always jump. So it's different techniques. Everybody has a different way of doing things, don't they? But it's just it's interesting to watch and different ways of learning.
Now, last year we did have a lot of horses jump out of the gate. I think if you want to go out the front, it's okay.
Yeah, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow anyway. Keep her in a routine that she knows.
All right, perfect. Thanks for joining us and taking the time. Amy's been waiting with me for quite a while, guys. But now we have the training schedule for Manhattan Jungle coming up for tomorrow.
Thank you, Michelle. And it seems like more people have been pouring in here.
It's Bob Baffert.
Crowd gathering. Yeah, Bob Baffert at the gate.
And this is going to be a busy day at the gate because you want to give yourself that option of coming back tomorrow if you need to, right? I mean, if you do this on Thursday and you're running Friday and things don't go well, you always want that option to be able to come back. That's Joseph, I think, on the pony, Joseph O'Brien.
Two of the heaviest favorites of the 2 days, obviously Flightline, but the other is Cave Rock in the Juvenile. And Cave Rock, while Bob Baffert has two in that race with National Treasure, Cave Rock has been outstanding so far in his career. He's going to be coming to the gate.
That's him right there, right, with Jimmy
Looks
Barnes.
Like it.
Assistant. Yeah, that's Cave Rock, so he's going to be standing down there. But you can see Bob was chatting to Joseph O'Brien.
Though Flightline will be the shortest priced favorite or the heaviest favorite, I think, of the 2 days, certainly Cave Rock could be the heaviest favorite on Future Stars Friday.
Yeah, for sure.
He might be the second shortest price favorite all weekend.
Yeah.
What price is Flightline going off, Todd?
I think he's 3 to 5 at best, but I do think we're in that territory where you could have a 2 to 5 favorite in the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, and that was unthinkable.
I got some trivia for you.
Okay.
On shortest price horses. Think of all the great horses that have won the Breeders' Cup, okay? In the history of the Breeders' Cup.
Okay, so we're talking about a winner?
Yeah, a winner.
Okay.
A winner. The shortest priced winner to win a Breeders' Cup race. What price do you think it was? What horse do you think it was?
Let me ponder that a little bit. All right, Andy, stall for me.
Todd, we're here with trainer Mark Casse. Mark, we saw Wonder Wheel train earlier this morning. She looked fantastic. What are your thoughts?
She did. I thought, she trained as good as I've ever seen her train. Better than Saratoga. I thought when we first came, I thought the spinaway took a little something out of her. I thought she trained good into the Alcibiades, but I think she's training great now.
And we just sent Web Slinger gallop right by us. What are your thoughts on him?
He's an up-and-comer. I thought his last race was really good. As always, the Juvenile turf is a tough race, but he'll run well. He's training well. Looks great.
Thank you so much, Mark. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And as we were talking about, Cave Rock will get to the gate here in just a little bit, but looking at Web Slinger for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Really love the rotation now they have with the 2 days. I like the concept of Future Stars Friday with all the 2-year-olds there, and then the other championship races on Saturday. 5 championship races on Friday, 9 on Saturday. Cave Rock, one of the biggest stars on Future Stars Friday, about to get his experience here at the gate at Keeneland.
I guess if you were looking to try to make a case for somebody else, and I'm not sure that that's the best strategy, he's not raced outside of California, and he's for the most part kind of beaten up on everything that the West Coast has to offer,
Right.
but we don't really know how that compares to East Coast or any place else.
Which is usually his stablemates.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Every
And-
single race he's beaten up on his
And there
stable.
is the variable of shipping to a different climate, different location, all those factors that horses do have to contend with when they come in the way Cave Rock is, but he has been incredibly impressive in all three of his starts.
Got him packed in there, you see. He was the starting gate was moving around a little bit there. I think he's on his, just shuffling a little bit back and forward. He knows it's game time, but standing there in good order. Bob Baffert talked about getting nervous. These will give a trainer some anxious moments here, right here.
Well, it's just fascinating to me to see trainers, and there's Michael McCarthy waiting by. Trainers in positions you don't normally see, because if this were at Santa Anita, Bob Baffert would be over in Clocker's Corner. He wouldn't be right up by the starting gate, right?
No, because he's got 60 other horses to tend to here. Here you kind of focus. It's good and bad. I mean, your attention is all focused on one horse, and it's kind of like, you know, you can relax a little bit as far as the amount of work you do, but it's all focused on one individual.
And you get to watch, and you can come up there and maybe offer a helpful suggestion or word or two about your horse in general.
Yes.
But you can't tell the assistant starters or the starting gate crew what they should or shouldn't be doing or
No.
how to do it. So that becomes pretty nerve-wracking for a trainer as well, just to have to sit back and watch.
All you can do is tell him about the idiosyncrasies about the horse. My guess, he might stand back in again here. Just, yep, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Give him another turn. He's on the end stall there with its padded. Some of these other ones don't have as many pads, but they're just putting him in a few times here.
Something I've loved too, all those assistant starters with every horse we've seen come in, that reaffirming pat, but Cave Rock's having none of it. He's very aggressive in there,
Yeah,
Craig.
he's bouncing around in there a little bit, and maybe he just knows it's game time, but
Well, they're all different people than he's
Yeah.
ever been around, and there is something to that. When he's racing in California, those assistant starters are very familiar with him, and he's familiar with them. And plus, this is morning, not the real thing, and if he is still a little young, a little immature as far as the learning curve mentally, then he just doesn't understand why he has to just stand in the gate.
right, and he's doing this. He's standing there without another horse around him. I mean, there might be an option where they want to put some in further down the starting gate, because to what Andy says, when you start banging those doors back and forth, I mean, it starts getting loud in there, and that can spook a young horse. So they're backing him out. I mean, he's not getting hot or anything. You can see that's a good sign. I mean, I don't see any lather down the side of his neck.
Physically, he's imposing. He is a 2-year-old in the body of a 3-year-old for sure. Son of Arrogate out of the Bellamy Road
They're
Marriage
gonna go again.
Angel 3 times. Is
Yep.
this very unusual?
No, I've been there and done that. You just keep, it's repetition. Horses, we said all the time, are creatures of habit. You've got to keep just doing things to repeat. Be very repetitive.
Michelle Yu is right there as this is taking place.
So, guys, you're watching Cave Rock. When he goes in a little bit, you'll see him scooch his butt up underneath him, and kind of, it looks like he's trying to sit down a little bit. He's just very touchy in his rear end. So anytime someone pats him on there or the gate touches him, that's why he's doing that. Jimmy Barnes, assistant trainer to Bob Baffert, told me that even when he's getting on the trailer and stuff, if someone touches his butt, he kind of scooches it underneath. And you saw Bob kind of tapping his rear end to indicate that as well. So this is something that he just does. He's just squirrely about his tail.
And then you see trainer Tom Amos there off to the side by the starting gate.
He's got Curly Jack. He's watching the opposition there.
Yeah, and he's realizing he's going to need a bigger boat as he watches Cave Rock here. But we're going a fourth time?
Yeah, they'll keep going in. And there's nothing. Oh, no, actually, they're going with the pony now. Yep, this is fine. Yep, they're going with the pony.
Okay.
He's all done. I think that what Michelle said is very interesting because, again, that idiosyncrasies that the gate crew gets to learn, too, about the horse.
Michelle with Bob Baffert.
Bob, Cave Rock just schooling, and you said, oh, glad that's over.
Yeah, you know what? He's funny. He doesn't like his hind end when he touches anything in the back. He gets a little goosey. And so they have these pads in California, and they have the same pads here. So these guys are really great. So they got to know him. We tried him in the different gates. I felt more comfortable in the pads. And once he gets in there, he wants to be he doesn't want to lean on it. So as long as he's in the V, then he's fine. So I was happy with it.
super important to get over here and get to know the gate crew, right?
Well, the gate crew, they get to know the horse, and the horse gets to know the gate. Every gate is different, everywhere I've gone. But I was very, I feel good about it that he handled it well. He doesn't get violent in there, but he wants to sit down. He just wants to sit down, and we don't want that on race day. He's one of our best chances to win the Breeders' Cup. So, give him every opportunity, and they're kids. We're teaching them, but I just, so if he gets beat, it won't be because of the gate crew. He needs to run.
Appreciate it, Bob.
Thank you,
Joaquin.
And Michelle, thank you very much. Here with Mike Repole, who has 3 very live chances in the Breeders' Cup this year. You have Chocolate Gelato in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Forte in the FanDuel Juvenile, and Ness, who are waiting to come out from Todd Pletcher's barn in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Mike, let's go ahead and start with Ness. 3 consecutive wins. What sort of impression has this filly left on you as she's really taken her game to the next level?
We always knew as a Curlin she'd get better with age, but she's getting better by the race. I mean, she came out of the Belmont going a mile and a half in second place and just got stronger, gained weight. You saw what happened in the coaching club, 12.5 lengths. You saw what happened in the Alabama, 5.5 lengths. And then the public workout she had a couple weeks ago, 9.5 lengths. So she's looking great. She's getting stronger. She's gaining weight. And she's just getting better and better. We're just blessed.
You co-own her with Eclipse Thoroughbred. How did that partnership come together with Nest?
Aaron and Brian Spearman and Eclipse and I have gone partners in a bunch of horses. Mm-hmm. The reason why you don't know about it is that none of those were winners. But even though they did say Moretti was a winner, we paid $900. He made $300,000. But okay, that's a winner. And but we've had a lot of fun. But you know what? They're good people. I love Eclipse, and I like being partners with other people, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, Bob Baffert has the odds-on favorite, Cave Rock, in the FanDuel Juvenile. You have Forte, who has a victory over the racetrack. What do you make of Forte's chances?
He's just, again, another horse that's just improving. Todd's loved him since day one. In the Stanford, he disappointed us after his maiden win. And then the last 2 races, he's looked really, really good. And he just galloped over the track, looked really, really strong. And he's going to be tough. I mean, he's got a race over the track. He's traveled before. I saw Bob at Jeff Ruby's last night. I kept him out a little bit later on purpose. Maybe I bought him a couple drinks, and he might not be out here this morning, so I'm pretty happy about that.
And then in the Juvenile Fillies, you have Chocolate Gelato, back-to-back wins for her. What was your biggest takeaway from her victory in the Grade 1 Frazette in the slot?
Well, you know what? That she didn't have to go wire to wire. She wasn't so close to the lead. When she broke and she was like 5th, maybe by 6 lengths, I said, you know what, if she wins this, she's a really good horse. I didn't feel really good. Her odds went from 2-1 to me for about 15-1. There were live odds during the race, but she ran great, took the slop, took mud, raced inside, did everything right. And it's a 14-horse field, and she's most likely going to be coming from behind.
Well, Mike, we appreciate the time, and we'll go ahead and let you walk up to the track. Have a good morning out here at Keeneland.
Thanks, Joaquin. Appreciate it.
Todd, will send it back to you.
Mike Repole, as is the case, has brought along an entourage, friends and family coming out to support him for what is expected to be a big weekend. I want to go back to something that Bob Baffert was talking about, a V. What was the V he was referring to?
Yeah, it was a good segment there because, we saw a very good runner in Cave Rock go in the gate multiple times, which you don't often see. And as I mentioned, he did elect to take that end gate with the pads. So clearly the horse sits back. He doesn't go nuts in there, but he wants to sit back. And if you can imagine, this is going to be very rudimentary here, doing this on the, there's the starting gate to the right-hand one. You can see that's the V. Great shot there. That's the front of the gate. And we want him right looking in that V there. And there's also a V at the back of the starting gate as well. And you want the horse sitting right back, centered in there so they're not touching anything. The V, there you go. You can probably see at the bottom of the starting gate, there's kind of a little V there. And you want the horse looking right in there. And there's this V here, which Michelle's telling you, you want them sitting centered in there rather than sitting back on the pads. If they sit back on there, it's a no-go. It's not good. Great job, Michelle.
And Simon, in addition to the regular gate that we're showing you right there, this is the pad that Bob Baffert was talking about. So you can see it's really like a 2-inch thick pad. It's very soft, but when they close that V, if you look up here, you'll be able to see how much more contact that would make with the horse from behind.
So much to it, and the start going to be crucial, obviously, in so many races. And that's why these schooling sessions so important here in the mornings. Andy, who are you with now?
Todd. I am with TC, who is part of the Brad Cox team and one of the regular exercise riders of Caravel, who'll be running in the turf sprint. As you can see, she's standing so relaxed. TC, what is this filly like on a day today?
She's kind of a naughty girl. I just kind of try and ride the ride up here and pretend I'm not around. She kind of appreciates that, but I mean, she's great to ride. I love to ride her, but you want to be careful walking around behind her in the barn and just kind of watch herself walking by herself.
She's standing really well, and I see you do this every single day with her. How does standing like this help you when you take her out to gallop?
Well, I just kind of try and stand here and relax and kind of get myself relaxed and pass the vibe a little bit and get her settled down. But she'll stay in here all day, and as soon as we take off, it's game time, and she knows it. So I just kind of try and stay in here, relax, and look for my spot on the track so it'll be a little clearer and go away with it.
Before I let you get on your way, I'm going to get Caravel's thoughts. Caravel, what do you think of the day today? She's happy. She's excited to get galloping.
Andy Biancone is a real-life horse whisperer. She gets more in those horse interviews than anybody else.
She doesn't. Caravel doesn't want to leave. She just wants to hang out there with Andy.
That's Hall of Famer Gary Stevens' son, by the way.
That's right, TC.
Yes, TC Stevens. And Caravel, slow to start here, but TC will get his workout here. She's an aggressive filly. She's a sprinter. She's fast in the morning. She can get aggressive galloping, too.
Lots of activity going on here at Keeneland. We'll be back with more of it on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by Windstar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse here on FanDuel TV.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Daredevil, returning to stud on U.S. soil. The only first-crop sire to see 2 offspring win the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks and the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes in the same year. She dares the devil, taking the Kentucky Oaks and the Grade 2 Azeri Stakes, and champion Swiss Skydiver, winning the Preakness and the Grade 1 Beholder Mile Stakes. With more exciting prospects on the track and multiple 6-figure sales in the ring, Daredevil's career is just getting started, only at Lane's End.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger. Snake next spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion.
The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. The other midline. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
He was just put together like a machine, and he had a great mind. Everything about him was what you'd want.
Tis the Law pops the cork in the champagne. Tis the Law is going to win the first leg of the Triple Crown.
I've never seen him get tired.
Respect the law. Tis the law.
His structure is just perfect. His bone is perfect.
He's left the others behind. He's going to win the Run Happy Travers.
He's everything you would look for in a horse.
Looking to give your handicapping game a sharper focus? RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. Customized PPs, summary and individual research, handicapping angles and back testing, true odds predictive analysis, and pace projection. With innovative analytics powered by data from Equibase, it will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level. RaceLens, bringing clarity to handicapping. Learn more at equibase.com/racelens.
$1,400,000, $2,300,000.
Right here, give it a bite. $1,500,000. Thank you. $1,500,000 months away. Thank you. $1,200,000. $1,150,000. $1,001,000.
$1,050,000. Thank you.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
We're ready. Welcome back here to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm joined right now by Brad Cox. We just watched Chop Chop in the gate. What were your thoughts about her?
She stood well. We're just staying back out and then jog off and gallop about 1 mile and 3/8, but everything went well.
And want to talk about Caravel, watching her on the track. The last couple of days, she's had so much energy. Today, she felt great getting into stride, but I feel like there's more focus today from her.
Yeah, she's always full of herself or wants to do a little too much. That's why she wears the polo bit. We call it a gag bit. But yeah, no, she's feeling good. She's doing great. She's well collected and tons of energy. She's just pulling up there now.
You mentioned the polo bit. So she wears a gag bit. Normally horses use just a D bit or a ring bit. Why do you use the gag bit, which we've seen on horses like Mandaloun?
It's just to kind of get them to collect themselves, and it doesn't. It might not work on every horse or every rider. A rider has to be able to kind of give and take with it, but if a rider can get along with a horse and kind of give and take, it can get a horse to collect themselves, use their hound in a little better, and obviously slow them down as well. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't work in every case. It's kind of trial and error when you first start using it, but it works well for her.
Do the horses know when you change the bit that they might do something different?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely if it's draw reins, gag bit, just regular ring bit, snaffle, whatever it may be. But I think I think you can trick them a little bit. So I think oftentimes what you're trying to do, just to kind of settle down, slow down. Most of the time these tough fillies want to do a little too much in the morning. But she's in a good place right now.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Michelle.
Guys.
And Brad Cox, Eclipse Award, Outstanding Trainer in 2000 and 2021. Kate, you talked to him over at Churchill Downs at his base over there in Louisville. And not as many horses this time around, but quality chances?
Definitely. He has a chance with each of the horses that he's bringing over, and they're coming into the race in really good condition and on high notes. I think that maybe it's tempered by the fact that there are some caveats with each of the horses. For example, Caravel, running back on shorter rest than would be the norm for a Brad Cox runner. So you have some little question marks, some Cyberknife with kind of not fitting neatly into either category of the classic or the dirt mile, but still a very talented horse. And of course, when you get to his 2-year-olds, you never know. That's where he's known some of his greatest success in the Breeders' Cup, verifying in the Juvenile. And Chop Chop, I think, has trained as well as just about any horse coming in. So I think she's got an excellent chance.
Yeah, training well is Nest, who's on the track right now. I thought makes a nice appearance here for trainer Todd Pletcher. We've watched her all week, so it's not just like we're parachuting in today, and this is her MO. I think she pins her ears a little bit like that, but that's just her character, and she's a great filly. And as I mentioned at the top of our show this morning, I think since mid-year, she's clearly an example of a horse that's developing in the latter half of the year. She was probably not quite as good as Secret Oath early on, but she came and met her, and I think she might have surpassed her as far as talent.
Her last workout before the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic was on the same day as Flightline, and I thought it got overlooked in a lot of ways, Kate, and I thought she looked sensational.
I really did, too. When it was interesting when the fillies worked together, Nest and her stablemate Malathat, you were hard-pressed to pick which one you felt might be the better of the two, but I sort of gave the edge to Nest in that particular workout, and she's continued to impress going forward. I don't know what to make of her squaring off and trying to select one over the other, though. It's a tough battle from a handicapper standpoint, because Malathat, with the race over the track, is doing sensationally, too.
And they're both by Curlin, and that late development, in the case of both Malathat and Nest, is indicative of Curlin. He was the same sort of 3-year-old. Remember, he was much better in the latter half of his 3-year-old year.
Out on the track, Andy Biancone.
Todd, right next to me now on the rail is trainer Chad Brown. We just saw Raging Sea and Blazing Sevens gallop. Chad, you have such a brigade of horses. Is there anyone in particular you're most excited to see?
No, honestly, the horses that are all entered up are all training well. I'm very lucky. They're getting over the track well, and I really like what I saw today again.
I've seen Regal Glory training here, and I mean all meet, and she just looks like almost a completely different filly right now than she did 2 weeks ago. She looks so fantastic. What changes have you noticed in her?
That's a good eye, Andy. I agree with you. The fact that she's been able to stay here at Keeneland and not ship around, and She's never looked as good this year in her coat and her weight, like you said, and she seems to be coming into the race as good as she possibly can.
And I just have to commend your team because you have some of the best exercise riders in the business. Walter Velasquez, Peter Leva, and Gian, I don't know what his last name is, but Gian Cueva. How do you match these horses to these riders?
Yeah, it's a lot like matching them in the afternoon as well. You just try to get based on the size and the nature and the gait that they prefer traveling in. And these riders are pretty versatile. They can pretty much get on any horse. There's not that much effort that goes into it. But, you know, once they find a good relationship with certain horses, we try to keep them together. And I'm very lucky to have these guys and many more back home that have worked with me, many of them for 10 years or more.
Thank you so much, Chad. Wonderful job to you and your team.
Thanks for having me.
What's better than being a track announcer and calling one Triple Crown winner? Being a track announcer and calling two Triple Crown winners. He has been there for some of the biggest moments over the last years here in thoroughbred racing. Talking about the voice of the Triple Crown, the voice of NBC and the Breeders' Cup, the outstanding Larry Collmus. Gabby Gaudet catches up with Lair Bear and Maggie after this.
Lair Bear. It's time to bet the race. FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win. FanDuel is dropping you in the middle of all the fantasy football action all season long. Right now, new customers can play $1 worth of contest and get a $10 bonus instant. It's easy to build a team in minutes. And from single game to season-long contests, you can take home W's all year long. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way, quickly and securely. Come see why FanDuel Casino promotions give you so much more than other online casinos. Join FanDuel Casino and play it again with up to $1,000 back if you're down on your first day.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
My favorite Breeders' Cup race that I ever called? Not even close. The 2015 Breeders' Cup Classic, won by American Pharoah. I was with him the whole year. Had a chance to call the first Triple Crown winner in 37 years. And this was the last race of his career. He took the lead right away and pulled away from the older horses and dominated the Breeders' Cup Classic. And as they came to the wire, I remember I was able to say the words that I wanted to. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime. And when the race was over, I just remember one other thing. With all the emotion of the moment, yep, I cried like a baby like everybody else.
That was a Breeders' Cup Classic of a lifetime. Of course, we don't very often get to see a Triple Crown winner, especially one that wins the Breeders' Cup Classic. Here with Larry Collmus, we're atop the hill. This is where people usually tailgate before they head over to the races, but we're here having a picnic with kind of a rough-looking charcuterie board. What would you go for on this board?
Honestly, looking at it, I would say none of it. It looks really bad, but it's something to start the day, something to look at least, maybe not eat.
Hey, at least we tried. The effort was there. Larry, before we get into a couple of games that we're going to play, I want to ask you how you prepare for the Breeders' Cup. 2 days of championship racing, lots of horses to remember.
A lot of studying goes on, and I try to get all these names in my head over the last few weeks, and using flashcards has been my big help. So Breeders' Cup sends me all the cutouts of all the silks of the horses, and I just put them on a flashcard, and it just takes me forever. It probably takes me about 10 hours just to do that work, and then just keep studying, and then after that try to think about what you want to say in certain situations, like a flight line or whatever. So we're still not completely ready, but we're getting there.
All right, well, you better be ready because we're about to play a game. All right, we're going to start with his flashcard. We're going to put this memory to the test this morning, and this is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So I'm going to give you the mic, and you are going to hopefully say the right names.
I hope so. We'll see. Let me put my reading glasses on.
1, 2, 3, and go.
That's Wound Up. That's Curly Jack. That's Forte. That's Verifying. That is Blazing Sevens. That's Cave Rock. That's National Treasure. And that is Hurricane J. Lost Ark. Congruent. And back to Wound Up. I'm ready.
All right. But are you ready for the mile?
Oh, the mile. Well, this might be a little harder.
Okay.
Let's see.
So this is the mile. Here we go. And go.
Smooth Like Straight. Cheryl Spite. Kinross. King Cause. Ivar. That is Front Run the Fed. That's Dream Loper. That's Domestic Spending. That is Beyond Brilliant. That's Malavath. That is Regal Glory. That's Pogo. That is, these are the ones that start to get me. That is the Derek Smith horse. Give me a hint. It's one here at Keeneland here before in the mile. Oh, that's Order of Australia. Okay, and that's Modern Games. And that's Annapolis. And that's Gear Jockey. And that's back to Smooth Like Straight. See, what happens is with all these, Aiden O'Brien horses and Godolphin horses, they're still blending in right now in my head. But that's pretty good.
I probably could have gotten one of those. Maybe. I actually did try myself, and I can only get the trainers. All right, one more game, guys. One more. We have one more game, and I have not told Larry about this, but this is a game. So all of the silks are going to be on this page, and then we have little pieces of paper with horses' names on them. We're going to match them up and see how many either one of us can get within 20 seconds. And the race, do we have a stopwatch? Okay, the race is the Breeders' Cup Classic of 2015, Larry. Go. All right. Hard Aces, Glen Eagles. Oh, my gosh. Frosted. This is actually really scary. Okay, I got this. FNX, Keen Eyes, Honor Code, Tonalist. I don't know this. Oh, Hard Aces. Can I cheat?
You lose. Yeah, baby.
Womp, womp, womp.
I was the heavy favorite in that one.
I know, it was a long shot coming in. Man,
Maggie the dog yet?
This is not even fair. This is like flight line against I don't know what. I'm a long shot here.
And seeing it all
and
as
of course Maggie.
Yeah.
Our mascot making a cameo who was #1 in Larry's hearts, guys.
So I asked Larry about the moment in the Kentucky Derby this year with Rich Strike, who was kind of hidden. And I said, how did you pick out Rich Strike? Because most people who watched it at home, I remember a lot of people going, Happy Jack just upset the Kentucky Derby. I said, How did you know it wasn't Happy Jack? He goes, because I don't look at the saddle towels. Rich Strike was the only one with red and white silks, which is very unusual in and of itself. And then you see those memory cards with the silks only, not concentrating on the saddle towels, the difference it can make for him as an announcer. And those flashcards are like memory cards.
It's amazing, though, how they do trigger something. And even with Order of Australia, he knows the horse. It's just trying to trigger that the name, the actual name. But that's what amazes me every time I hear him in terms of these calls, that you have so many horses that you're calling for the first time, and yet he's flawless in terms of coming up with those names.
Yeah, and I think if you took it one step further on race day, probably about 2 or 3 minutes before the race goes off, he'll have those flashcards, or most track announcers will, and they'll just be like Order of Australia, looking at the horse, gear jockey, gear jockey, gear jockey. Best part of that segment, I was a heavy favorite there.
And he was. Thank you to Gabby Gaudet and Larry Collmus. Larry, look forward to hearing your calls, and we're very fortunate to have him here, part of the year on FanDuel TV. Let's get back out onto the racetrack. Looking now to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. This is Chain of Love. Despite all that success last year, Caden, Chain of Love is the only Japanese representative, and she will go on the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint.
I did get a glimpse of her in the flesh as she breezed by us, by our set, and she looks right at home. She was stretching her legs beautifully and didn't make much sound as she traveled over the dirt course, and it seemed like a very even, very good work.
Yeah, she's got a good way of going. She's, certainly got a dirt North American pedigree. She's by Heart's Cry, who's a Japanese stallion, of course, but he himself by Sunday Silence out of a Street Cry mare, so lots to like here. Bill Buick will be aboard, and just coming down the lane. They're just hanging on that. Oh, there you go. You get the lead switch there and got that one cheek piece on the right side. This horse does have a tendency to drift out a little bit, is what the connection said, but I would say straight as an arrow here. So
and down pretty far onto the inside rail,
yeah,
which she seems to be doing pretty easily. She comes off a win in her most recent start, and prior to that was away since June. So that could set her up nicely for a big performance based on the way the Japanese horses ran last year in California. You have to respect their only representative.
Yeah, last 2 layoff lines. They haven't been that long, but she's performed well. 1 win and 1 third-place finish. So, yeah, but to Todd's point, so much success globally, just 1 entrant this year. And I think it goes in waves. I think there's a couple of reasons. They don't just bring horses over here anymore just to show up. They want to compete. And, I just think the travel to it's easy here. It's not that bad. But travel to the West Coast, probably a little easier from, the Pacific Rim.
Chain of Love, a daughter of Heart's Cry out of the Street Cry mare, Fair Ellen, bred by North Hills Company in Japan. Joaquin?
Well, Todd, thanks for the phone. Got the Mint Gaming Hall at Kentucky Downs and the Kentucky HBPA. Breakfast is provided for everyone that is working here on the backside at Rice Road. You can see the tent behind me, which opens up very early on in the morning. I was told yesterday they went through 400 breakfast burritos just yesterday. Today they switched it up. They went for a little breakfast sandwiches today. So breakfast burritos yesterday, breakfast sandwiches today. You can see the sandwiches here, water, soda, pastries. You have some hot, fresh oatmeal just right over there. And, of course, you can't get your morning started here on the backside unless you get some hot chocolate and some fresh coffee. So thanks to our friends at the Mint Gaming Hall at Kentucky Downs and the Kentucky HBPA, keeping all the horsemen and women fueled up as we start training hours very early here at Keeneland Racecourse. This opens behind me at 4 a.m. And, of course, training starts on the main track at 6 a.m. So with that, we're going to step away for a break here on FanDuel TV. Stay with us. Much more to come. When we return, I'm going to make my way over to Barn 45. We'll hear from the connections of Chain of Love and what they just thought of our workout on the main track.
Precocity.
Strategic speed. Some speed at 2, but can carry it on through their years.
Improbable, full of run. Improbable, now a Grade 1 winner.
It is a complete runaway, an authoritative run.
It's improbable to win the Whitney.
Hey, big man.
Oh, hey.
Dave told me you got some kind of great system for betting that really works.
It's true.
What is it? Is it like home? No. It's bird mascots.
No, I just use FanDuel's responsible gaming tools, like time and spending limits, to manage my play.
That's the system.
Hasn't failed me yet.
Cool. You know what, man? I'm just going to keep this between you and me.
It's not a secret, Bob.
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours. It's more fun that way.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at TVG.com.
Chase the day with Day Chaser Cocktails, the official ready-to-drink canned cocktail of Breeders' Cup.
Well as a night filled with food, fun, and drink. That's Anna James.
What?
She was impersonating everyone on the night she'd watch, and so she was impersonating Andy Biancone. There's Allie, our star of social media. How about that camera shot? I don't know how they pulled that off, but she pulled off a strike, and she was thrilled. We all celebrated, yelling, Andy, Andy. And this is all thanks to George Krikorian, who has Warlike Goddess going in the Breeders' Cup turf. George Krikorian, known for his theaters in California, has developed Lexington, especially downtown, with Lex Live. If you have not been to Lex Live, it's right across from Rupp Arena. You're going to have a phenomenal time, whether you just want to go there and watch the game, whether you want to bowl, whether you want to go over to the arcade. George Krikorian is someone we've talked a lot about out in California. He's got breeding operations in Kentucky. He races everywhere. Warlike Goddess is one of his best horses. And George Krikorian, despite all the demands on his time, offered to host this. We cannot thank him enough. This crew works so hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get everyone together and just have some time to have some fun. George, thank you.
Why were you using the rack?
I wasn't. That was Miles Phelps.
Hey, I want to know, who is the chief bowler from this FanDuel
Thank
crew?
you.
Right there. I'll do it for you.
I didn't mean to brag. I didn't mean to boast. But, yeah.
He's like Mookie Betts.
153, 167.
Wow.
Yeah. Off the layoff. Channel Maker, he's getting up there.
You were a heavy favorite.
Yeah, thank you. Like Lair Bear in the 2015 Classic. All right, Channel Maker, he's up there. He's we watched him grow up quite a bit here at the Breeders' Cup.
8 years of age. Record is 9 wins from 48 starts and earnings of $3.6 million. And he was successful earlier at Belmont in the mile-and-a-half Grand Couturier, but he still hasn't quite been able to show that at this stage of the game he can beat the top level of competition, yet he tries hard every single time.
That's the thing. I mean, he from an owner and a trainer's perspective, he's showing you nothing that would suggest he can't perform on a stage like this, and that's why he's doing it. He's just a good old warrior. These types of horses are real barn favorites. They might not be the superstars of the barn, but he shows up. He's a horse that likes to be on the lead. There's no question about that. But I mean, it's just remarkable at the age of 8, making start number 49, that he's going to be showing up here. And he always does this high head carriage. That's him.
He likes Keeneland, too.
Yep.
He did have the victory in the Elkhorn at the start of the season back in April. he's a fun horse to have with us in the Breeders' Cup. It's hard to say that he's a horse that you would bet on to win, but at the same time, he does deserve his place here.
He's like one of those NBA athletes, Todd, that are not, superstars, but they spend the last 6 years of their career, a year here, a year there, a vet, they play some bench minutes, that kind of thing. He just hangs around.
And, based on Bill Mott's demeanor going into this Breeders' Cup, I do think he feels good about the way all his horses are coming into this, and he is not one that, usually it's a pretty good poker face. So the fact that he's been so upbeat about everything tells me that he feels really good about all his horses right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Let's turn our attention now to the Filly and Mare Turf as part of Championship Saturday, and now looking at Rogier.
Okay, this is Rogier, right? Yep, 407. Sorry.
Yep.
Left the reading glasses at the hotel this morning.
Chad Brown, he was talking to Andy earlier.
Right, exactly.
That Rogier?
Yep, that Rogier.
Winner of the E.P. Taylor last time out, although a narrow win over Moira, who we were talking about, the Queen's Plate winner, who was disqualified from second in there and placed 8th. Rogier goes on to the win. It's been her biggest win since coming to North America. But before she came to North America, she was competing in France at the highest level. A Group 1 effort, 4th beat in the neck behind a very good horse in Mother Earth.
Yeah, she was 7th in this race last year in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. She won the Prix de l'Opera last year, but I don't know. Maybe she just hasn't taken that. She's taken a step forward. She's a Group 3 winner, a Grade 1 winner, but I think it gets a little tougher. She's going to have a challenge from her stablemate in Italian. She's got to run her down.
For sure. I will say that she does have some excuses, I think, in some of her previous losses here in the United States. And when she got the 1.25 miles, she was just getting the victory there. So I really like the distance of the Filly and Mare Turf works to her strongest suit. She showed a lot of ability when she won the Beaugay in her first start since transferring to Chad Brown's barn. And I think that it would be premature to write her off just because she wasn't able to beat the better horses up to this point. But she hasn't been any match for In Italia or some others as well that are at this level. But I do think the distance helps her.
Goes different. We've seen different motion. Look at her. She's a turf filly. She runs downhill, right?
Yeah.
You could see all the weight is shifted forward. And she's got a high knee action.
And that knee action is kind of what you see in so many good turf horses. That when you say, oh, kind of moves like a turf horse, that kind of high knee action is sometimes a telltale sign.
Let's check in with Mike Joyce, who is forever young.
It wouldn't be a breakfast show if we didn't bring noted clocker Gary Young on for his opinion. Fresh in from California. When did you get here to Kentucky?
Last night.
Did you fly into Lexington, or did you have to do the Cincinnati drive like me?
I was actually at a wedding in South Bend, Indiana, and drove down yesterday, 4.5 hours. Nice drive, but I'm glad I'm here.
South Bend, Notre Dame themed?
Yeah, my girlfriend's from South Bend, yeah.
Horses from California, a couple of works that I know that you had a keen eye on. Let's start with Flightline. We've heard all the glowing reviews, but you're someone who does this for a living. What do you see with this horse? What stands out and what's special about him?
His size, the way he pushes off, the ground he covers. It's pretty much faultless. Just to quote Trevor Denman, he moves like a tremendous machine. He does. This is the sternest test of his life. No disrespect to the horses he's defeated thus far, but this is a different kettle of fish. It's anticipated by most people that he will pass the test, but if you don't like Flightline, you don't like Carrot Cake.
I love Carrot Cake. Let me talk about his career. When was the first time you hit your radar? He's in California, so you had to see him. Do you remember that first day you saw him on the track? Was there a buzz about him, or was it a horse that just caught your eye and be like, whoa, who's this?
He was around for a couple works as a 2-year-old, then he took some time off, and then he just, when he came back to work for his first race, you could just tell that, that this horse was way better than what you usually see, and everything he's done has been not surprising to anyone that watches him on a daily basis. He's up against his biggest test, but he's passed everyone with flying colors so far.
Let's talk about a juvenile I know that you had your eye on, and that's Cave Rock. He's been sensational for Bob Baffert, but what have you seen the way he's working and preparing for this event?
Worked very well. Very efficient moving horse. Beautiful galloping horse. Puts his head down when he gallops, just like you'd like to see him. Nice horse. The Chad Brown horse that's in that race, the By Good Magic, Blazing Sevens or something like that.
You got it right, Blazing Sevens.
He was very good on the racetrack this morning. Very, very good sized, well balanced horse. Those two horses would probably be where I'd look at in the juvenile. They'll probably be the first two choices. So there's not a lot of wagering value there, but those two horses look very good on the racetrack this morning.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. You're always on this show, and I'm glad I got to bring you on. Best of luck with all your endeavors this weekend, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And that goes for dinners as well as the gambling.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Carrot cake, yes or no?
I'm not a carrot cake guy.
Oh, carrot cake, yes
No,
or
not so much.
Oh, carrot cake for me.
I'm a FanDuel Plus guy, and you should be too. If you want to get prepared for the Breeders' Cup, there's no better way than downloading the FanDuel Plus app. We've got our breakfast at the Breeders' Cup shows. You can look at past ones. You can look at the one we're watching right now, or we're actually putting on, you're watching. And there's expert analysis and the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races. So much content to get you ready for the Breeders' Cup. Download it today. FanDuel Plus on Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV. We have much more coming up on here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Keep sending us your social media reactions to what you see on the show. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, brought to you by Windstar Farm and Keeneland Racecourse on FanDuel TV. Make every moment more.
If this place could talk, it would roar. It would say, this is racing. This beating heart in the heart of horse country. Steady and strong beneath the roar. Reminding us why. For the love of the horse. For generations to come.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. On the board in 12 of 14 starts from ages 2 to 4, his career included a 6-race winning streak. Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger. Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won. It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion. The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. On the midline. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
Game Winner first got started and ran a very, very impressive maiden race to Del Mar. Came back in the Del Mar Futurity and again won very impressively at 7 furlongs. And then just continued that unbelievable 2-year-old year. Went on to win the American Pharoah Stakes at Santa Anita and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And then was obviously crowned 2-year-old champion. Got the precocity to do that, plus the stamina and everything that his whole family indicates.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
The industry has a few things that we have to take care of better, and one was the aftercare of the horses.
We have a social responsibility to make sure that thoroughbred aftercare is also #1 on the list.
Just the word aftercare has become part of the vernacular in a way that it was not.
We started with some 21 organizations, and now we're up to over 82 facilities throughout the country and giving away almost just under $25 million.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
They make their way to the top of the stretch, and Jasper Prince is joined on the outside by Empire of Gold, who takes the lead as they arrive into the final furlong. Empire of Gold, here's Whitmore running after him on the outside. Whitmore has taken the lead. CZ Rocket on the outside, up into second lane, but the old man's gonna do it. It's Whitmore in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He won it by about 5 in the end.
Well, that moment, arguably one of the highlights of the 2020 Breeders' Cup at Keeneland, and Whitmore, one of the more popular winners of the Breeders' Cup in the history of the event. From an ornery racehorse throughout his career to champion sprinter, trainer Ron Moquette and Laura Moquette, his wife, have been with Whitmore all the way. And the transformation is continuing. Just a few weeks ago, we had opportunity to follow the former champion sprinter in his new vocation as the Retired Racehorse Project's Thoroughbred Makeover, where he competed in the competitive trail competition. He continues to literally carry the flag for retired racehorses everywhere.
The Racehorse Makeover Project shows that these horses are so valuable in other avenues other than racing. And for Whitmore, the Eclipse champion of 2020, the Breeders' Cup champion, it was to show everybody that even a hard-headed Whitmore could be a very useful horse at something else.
Everybody is here just to celebrate thoroughbreds and their new chapter in life. I didn't really get to start working with them until like middle of May this year, so we had a big crunch time. We had a lot to do in a very short window.
The next horse up will be 472 Whitmore with Laura Moquette riding.
I had a blast. It was so much fun. It was so fun to see everybody turned out to like support him. It was really cool. He had his fan club, groupies.
I've got friends of mine that train horses that called me on the way down here to say, hey, what time's Whitmore showing?
It was challenging, and he made his way through it, and he just took a walk in the woods in his mind and saw some really scary stuff. His pivot work was beautiful, the mounting block was great. Got spooked at some things, the chains cast a shadow on the bridge that made it look like black snakes were dancing on it. Pool noodles were wonderful. The water was great. We've only walked through water twice. Thank God he didn't lay down. He was probably like, oh yeah, I can get her now. But to have him be able to keep his composure, they don't have to do it perfect in my mind as long as they give you an effort. And that's what he did, so I was proud of him.
I think it's all on us to make sure that aftercare is not an afterthought. We have to raise awareness to what thoroughbreds can do after the racetrack. And I think it's really important for FIRST and every entity in horse racing to ensure that every thoroughbred, for what they do for us on the racetrack, is finding a home that they can have a new vocation to make sure that they're still succeeding in life.
He's unique in the fact that he's so successful, but he's not unique in the fact that these horses become our family.
He's just been the most fun blessing in our entire life. I am probably going to do some hunter stuff this winter and just see how that goes. But I thought this was a great place to start because it just desensitizes him to a bunch of stuff for the rest of his life.
Now, Whitmore continues to have his big following and fan base who have been eager to see what he would do off the racetrack, and they're going to get another opportunity to see him as tentatively, if things continue to go well. He is scheduled to lead the post parade for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, so the first time he returns to the racetrack after exiting it and taking on new things. But the thing that was most amazing to me about that entire event and watching him and watching several other horses who had competed participated in the Breeders' Cup is the versatility of these thoroughbreds. It is amazing the things that they do off the racetrack. They were doing barrel racing, they were doing dressage, they were doing everything, and they were doing it so well.
This goes back a long ways. Even the great Kelso, after his racing career was over, had other disciplines that he participated in. But Whitmore, when you consider his body of work, it is remarkable that he is on to this new discipline. But when he was in thoroughbred racing, he was outstanding, one of the most popular horses to race at Oaklawn Park, and one of the more popular Breeders' Cup Sprint winners, that happening right here at Keeneland. Back in to the preparations, Michelle, you.
Thanks, Todd. If anyone has watched social media lately, you've seen the ponies that accompany Bob Baffert. Now, the last couple of years, we've had Smokey around and we've had Sunny around. And while he looks similar, this is not Sunny. This horse is actually named Amarillo. He did come from the same place as the other Bob Baffert ponies, Twombly, but he is a new horse. However, this is not his first time to Kentucky. He also accompanied Medina Spirit to the Kentucky Derby. To Joaquin now.
Well, Michelle, we made our way back to barn 45 and 46. We're waiting for the Japanese filly and Chain of Love to get back to the barn. In the meantime, I'm with Chad Boston, who's been a blacksmith for over 30 years. And we got a filly right in front of us that is getting some new shoes. Chad, what's the process here? What's going on?
Well, you just you trim down the foot, level it, and shape the shoe and nail it on.
Tell me about your toolbox here. What am I looking at right here?
Just tools of the trade. Everything you need to get it done.
And what's the shoe life on these horses? How often do they need to get new shoes?
Normally, we show them about every 30 days. As it gets a little cooler, they don't grow as much foot because they're growing more hair. Mm-hmm. So they might go kind of 5 weeks in the wintertime, and then they get taken care of.
How many different shoes are there?
Well, now, with the new rules, there's only 2. You have a shoe that's legal for the dirt, which has a 4mm toe grab behind, and then you have turf shoes that are flat. There's no grab at all in the toe. So that's what's legal for turf and dirt now.
I appreciate the time. I appreciate the insight. We'll let you get this right on. Guys, we'll send it back to you as they're just finishing up the final shoe on this filly over here right now.
Okay. This is what he's talking about, trimming. So he's taken the old shoe off here, Todd, and this is like trimming your nails. So they're going to take, probably about a 1/4 of an inch off there every 30 days. He'll rasp it down, flatten out the shoe, make it nice and level. This is a mani pedicure, if you will.
It is the same process because you just had first the clippers
yep.
or nippers, and then you take the file, which is just like an emery board or a nail file, and the only difference would be the nails.
Yes, and then you shape the shoe to the foot, not the foot to the shoe. You'll see that in a minute. He's just clipping a little more off there.
Oh, so that's what the anvil is for there when he actually...
Yes.
So when he has to make the adjustment,
right
put
here.
Up there and hammer it?
It's going to do it right now. See? And he'll place it on the horse's foot, line it up, and this is all done by eye. And he's looking to make sure it fits the hoof wall. And then he'll nail it on, and it looks... People say, how do you nail onto a horse's foot? Well, there's a very fine line, literally. It's called a white line. There's a white line. From the edge of the hoof wall into the foot, and you can put the nail into that area. It's just keratin. It's just like fingernail. And where you get into trouble is if you break that white line, and that's when you get into, soft tissue and the meat of the foot, if you will. So you're going to see that in a minute. He's going to take probably 8 nails, 4 either side, the hammer.
But then the balance between the 2 shoes as well. If it's not right, then the alignment of the horse could be thrown.
You want them to be even, but they've got to be adjusted based on how the leg is designed, because like people, the legs aren't identical necessarily. So the center part is the frog, which is a softer area that does have quite a bit of nerve endings and is very, very sensitive. So that's the other part that the blacksmith's got to be careful of. He's got to trim it, keep it so that it can be cleaned and is in good shape, but at the same time, you wouldn't hammer in that area.
No, that's very
the real
soft.
sensitive part.
Yeah, that's it's got a like frog digital cushion. When it hits the ground, it actually forces blood into the foot. There's very little blood supply in a horse's foot. That's why when you have diseases like laminitis, it's very hard to cure. You can't. There's no recovery there because the blood supply is low. So he's put the nails in. This is going to be the last one in, probably, maybe on this side. And the nails come out. They come out of the side. And it's like taking a 3-inch nail and hammering it through a 1-inch piece of wood. There's going to be probably 2 inches sticking out the other side. So he's got to take those pieces off and rasp them down because they're very sharp right now. And this all looks very easy. And he's got a horse that's behaving, and they stand there well when they're older. But you do this on young horses, it's back-breaking work. Trying to get used to it.
So many careers at the racetrack. That is a vocation you can go to school for, and excellent work there.
Make sure you have a good back, too.
Yeah, that's only one horse for him this morning. The Platinum Queen and Midnight Mile out on the turf course. Turf course open for training here at Keeneland, and that is the Platinum Queen leading this.
Actually, yeah, 9 Platinum Queen in front. I'm just looking at her headgear. Yeah, she's got a hood on there, you see, just to... Some people put this on.
Will she race with that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think so. Rishi would have a better idea. But you see, she's just taking things in. Galloping in bell boots, that's a European thing. You don't see that very often. They're those protective sheepskin boots on, so... You know, they don't hopefully step on themselves, pull a shoe off. But you see, she's looking at the grandstand, head completely sideways and just taking things in. I wouldn't see this as a negative. She's in a slower paces, just checking things out. If she was in a race with 10 horses around her, probably not going to be doing that.
Let's get the thoughts of Scott Hazelton and Rishi Prasad.
Yeah, we had a chance to see this filly over on the training track yesterday, so they're changing things up, Rish, by going on to the turf course here today. And speaking of that equipment that they were referencing, what will be the equipment that she uses on race day?
Well, she'll only use a noseband, and that's the only thing that she's used before. The hood is quite often used nowadays in training to keep horses relaxed and chilled out beforehand, and mentioned about the boots as well. Everything that she's wearing, every bit of equipment she's wearing is just to protect her against her own enthusiasm. By all accounts, she's a very enthusiastic horse. She wants to get on with the job, and because of that, she can potentially just overreach a little bit, just want to do a little bit too much. So the hood is on to try and settle her down a little bit. The boots are on to protect her in case she just stretches a little bit too much. So it's just to temper a little bit of that enthusiasm, but she's behaving in her normal pattern.
And she's been up there for quite some time waiting for the turf course to open, so you would imagine that there's some pent-up energy because of that as well, because the standing around for these horses, they're not used to being in a static situation when they're tacked up and have a rider on their back.
Indeed, of course, she's a speedball.
Right.
You know, maybe not quite as speedy as some of the American speedballs, but she is the best of the British 2-year-old speedballs. So her whole thing is about getting on with it and getting on with it as quickly as possible.
But from the outside draw, as we talked about yesterday.
That's a major issue. That's a major issue. And whilst I think she's obviously as good a contender that we've brought over for this race, I'm worried about the draw and about her antics when she comes under pressure, leaning left. The other horse that she was out with, Midnight Mile, she's a really interesting filly. She's only run twice. She's won both times. One of the other interesting aspects about Midnight Mile is that she was actually delivered as a foal by C-section. Using the facilities at Collmus, she was delivered by C-section. So she is a filly who's shown quite a lot of ability in 2 starts so far. There's the potential for a lot of improvement, so she'll be a big contender for the Richard Fahey team.
And she's in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. That's the 12 Midnight Mile for Fahey.
Let's talk more about speed on the turf. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, $1 million being offered on Future Stars Friday. Here's a look at Dramatized coming in from York.
It's the first time I'm seeing her. She's really a leggy, kind of athletic-looking filly.
Yeah, she is. She's got, again, another one got her head up. She's, going slightly, letting her stretch her legs a little bit, a little more quicker pace, a little blowout. And I like the way she loaded the ground, kind of flicks her front legs out there, very efficient mover. She just jumped back to a left lead there. But for a horse that's seeing a lot of these things for the first time, and a young horse at that, in the age of 2, looks very professional.
Looks as if a rider is having to restrain her a little bit along the way, that maybe she would like to do a little bit more than what she's doing here. And maybe that's part her personality. It seems she tends to run close to the pace, has a bit of speed. didn't fare very well on a good course last out at York back in August, which was her most recent race. But before that, 2 straight victories, including the Queen Mary.
And real quick, Todd, we've been having the discussion before we get to Rishi and Scott about the turf course. You got to see a little bit kicking up there, right?
No,
on the
it's
outside.
got some cut in it.
Yes.
Scott and Rishi, what about most of these European sprinters? It's been straightaway races. How big of a concern is it that they're going to face a turn?
Well, it's always a concern, I think, coming in with these young horses, right, Rish? I mean, because it's just something that they're not used to doing, and it's the same on the flip side when we send our American runners over there during Ascot to take on the straight because it's so much stiffer. You don't have that breather around the turn, so that's something that they have to adjust for and make sure they have position more than anything when they enter that turn for these sprint races.
Correct, Scott. And a lot of our two-year races, we like our horses to get into a nice rhythm. Here, you don't have time to get into a nice rhythm, because they think about the long term. They like these horses to get experience and learn a little bit more as they go through their career, whereas here, you just got to go. There's no time for hanging about. I think the Platinum Queen is certainly capable of that. Dramatized, if we split this race or took this race back to the middle of the summer, the morning line odds where I think Platinum Queen is 7-2 and Dramatized is 15-1, it would have been reversed.
So it might be worth a punt there just based on that because she is a filly that certainly has talent, winner of the Queen Mary. All right, we're taking a look at the entire Charlie Applebee lot. That is the Godolphin runners that he's sending postward. Obviously had great success last year, winning with Modern Games and Space Blues, as well as Jabir in the Breeders' Cup Turf. So all sons of Dubawi, as we touched on yesterday, and coming in with Modern Games once again off of the heels of his run on Champions Day and that brilliant run in the Rico Woodbine Mile around the one-turn scenario up there in Toronto. But these horses coming out, and as we saw them leave the quarantine barn, Rebels Romance was at the front of the pack, and it's amazing how the mile-and-a-half turf horses versus the sprinters and even Modern Games, the size difference. They are so much taller, so much bigger in their stature, while Modern Games and the sprinters are almost built very similar. They're almost that sprint, very sleek, low-to-the-ground type of look, but not the case with the two leaders for the Breeders' Cup Turf.
No, certainly Rebels Romance, he's always been a tall... last season when he was a 3-year-old, he's rather angular, narrow horse. He's filled out a little bit. He still doesn't carry the same amount of condition as horses like Modern Games, etc. But of course, if he did, he'd be almost the size of an elephant because he's that tall. He is a very talented horse, Scott. But it's interesting, obviously, I think we've spoken about it before. 12 months ago, this was a horse that I think Charlie Applebee would have been considering the Dubai World Cup as a big target for him in 2022, and that failed in the early part of the year. But they've changed tack, they've gone on the turf, and he's proved a real success so far.
Modern Games needs no introduction, just the absolute veteran of racing here this year. Even though at the age of 3, they've asked a lot of him over the course of these seasons, and he shows up, he delivers. He's a horse that they go to the well and they get something every time.
I'd like to play poker against Modern Games because he gives you everything. He shows you everything. He doesn't keep anything up his sleeve. He tries so hard. I love the way he races. He's the type of horse who I think thrives on his racing. He is doing that. He did that last year. He produced his best performance at the end of last season when he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And I think he's getting better as this year's gone on. I know that he ran and he won the French Guineas earlier on and he ran well in the French Derby. But he had a little spell where he perhaps just went off the boil a little bit when he was beaten in France. But then he came back with a good run behind Bailly. That was a really good effort. Some people thought he was a bit flattered by that run, but then he came back and he won the mile in Canada. And then, of course, that run last time in ground that he didn't like. Pretty good effort in the QE2 on Champions Day. And if you look at him, and you noticed it yesterday, I noticed it again today, he is carrying a lot of condition like a horse who is loving life at the moment. You can't be anything but encouraged by his physical appearance here at Keeneland.
And that's one of the beauties of watching the morning shows being back here, because I was a bit concerned with him looking at his most recent race, watching it back, maybe thinking that the trip to Toronto, that type of effort took something out of him. But my mind has been changed because his attitude has been phenomenal, especially once he gets out onto the racetrack. We saw it, and we're seeing it again today. He's just a horse that he knows what he's getting set out to do as he goes out with his teammates here today. So there is no reason to think that he would not be sitting on a big race on Saturday in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile. He draws post 4, which is a perfect scenario as well. I mean, that's an ideal situation. and he's a horse that can sit handy if he needs to, it seems.
He's very tractable through his races. He's amenable to what the jockey wants to do in the early part of the race, and then he's there to deliver when he comes off the bridle. So I love the fact that he's very uncomplicated and he makes things easy for the rider. So he's one of my best selections for the entire meeting, Modern Games.
And then we go back to the Breeders' Cup Turf Nation's Pride, second choice on the morning line at 7-2 for Godolphin. William Buick opts in this direction. He rode this horse to victory in the Saratoga Derby. Frankie rode him in his other two starts here in the United States in the Belmont Derby and the Jockey Club Derby Invitational at that Belmont at Aqueduct meeting. But a 3-year-old that has done really nothing wrong since coming here for these stateside races, the Group 1 races, and then obviously that Grade 1, or Grade 3 run, I should say, last time out.
And the other thing to remember about Nation's Pride, Scott, is that after his first 2 runs of this year, when he won in Dubai, and then he went to Newmarket and he bolted up, he won by miles on that occasion. He then, of course, was considered good enough to be supplemented for the Derby by Charlie Applebee, and they paid a significant amount of money. And William Buick is pretty confident about his chances. They went into the race thinking that they had a chance of winning the Derby, obviously. But unfortunately, he seemed ill-suited by conditions at Epsom and the contours of the track. And of course, on a far more conventional race course that you get in America here, where it's flatter, he's been able to show his best. You know, similar to when he went to Dubai, a more conventional type of track without the twists and turns that Epsom gave him as a challenge. We're seeing what Nation's Pride is truly capable of. And there's possible that, you know, he's only a 3-year-old. It's possible that he's got more to come. He's a rock-solid contender.
There's quite a bit of chatter via social media about these two horses, right? About who's going to be favored, races in New York, and et cetera, et cetera. But between the two, Rebels Romance and Nation's Pride, if you had to choose one, it's a heads-up match between the two. You have first choice. Who is it?
I'm William Buick.
You're William Buick, yes. Put yourself in the shoes of William Buick.
Yeah, not much difference between William and I. I would go I would go for Nation's Pride myself. I think that he's got the scope for a little bit more improvement. I also think he's a tiny bit pacier than Rebels Romance, who's a big, strong galloper. Rebels Romance does travel quite well, but he doesn't have that instant turn of foot. He does quicken up, obviously. But I think Nation's Pride probably has a little bit more juice when he's asked for it than Rebels Romance, and because of that, I'd rather go with a horse like that, because you've got to have the ability to get out of trouble. You've got to have the ability to find or pick up and go through a gap when you need to in these sort of races, and I think he's got a little bit more of that than Rebels Romance.
And I think that those U.S. races are going to go a long way for him, having those 3 runs under his belt up in New York. So quite a contingent out there for Charlie Applebee as he looks to replicate the success that he had last year with those 3 victories. Yabir, Modern Games, Space Blues. What will Charlie do on the weekend? We will find out. We'll also, Todd, have an opportunity to catch up with Charlie Applebee once this group gets back here to the quarantine bar.
We're also going to have Frankie Dettori on tomorrow's show, but right now we have Joaquin Jaime, who is someone who really helps out with the Japanese horses.
Todd, that is right. I'm here with Kate Hunter, a representative for the Japanese runners when they come here and travel internationally and here to the U.S. And Kate, you guys have Chain of Love. She's going to be represented in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. What sort of work did Chain of Love do today?
Today she worked 5 furlongs. She came over here mostly pretty much set and ready to go. So it wasn't, if it's not the flashiest thing you've ever seen, it's because she was pretty much set, but she really wanted to go. So they're very happy with her. The trainer told me that it was exactly what he wanted to see from her, and that her condition has continually improved since arrival. She shipped in. She was a bit lonely in quarantine. She doesn't like being alone. She likes other horses around her. So she was your typical chestnut mare with her ears back all the time. But once she got here, Vicky Oliver has been wonderful. Allowed us to have a pony in the barn with her, and then Vicky Oliver's stables across from her. So she just has become, very, very happy. She's has her ears pricked all the time, in a much better mood, and it shows on the racetrack.
We're pretty close to race day. We're only 3 days away from racing, so she has a 5 furlong work pretty close to a race. Is that normal in a Japanese training program?
Yes, Wednesday is the typical breeze day for all Japanese racehorses, whether they run on Saturday or Sunday in Japan, which is because they race on the weekends there. So yeah, this is normal for them. And so it's the Japanese like to try and stick to the typical program that they have back home for when they travel abroad, and don't really change it much. And it hasn't harmed their results very much either.
We don't know too much about your horse as she makes her U.S. debut. So what sort of competition has she been facing this year, and what kind of running style does she have?
Well, she typically has a very come-from-behind running style, which is not the best thing you want to see in a sprint race. But she has performed really admirably in Saudi Arabia, where she came in third. She was just flying there at the end. The same thing in Dubai in the sprint there. She was fourth, but she was flying. And so I'm really hoping that with the help of William Buick and her post position, we'll be able to keep her maybe a little bit closer to the lead there, because she just flies at the end. And I think the 7 furlongs will be perfect for her.
Take me back to last year. You guys make history at Del Mar, 2 Breeders' Cup wins for Japan. What was the reception like last year when you guys got back home to Japan after winning 2 Breeders' Cup races?
Oh, everyone was so excited. It was both of them were won by racing clubs, so the racing clubs had all these parties. They're actually having one for Marsh Lorraine when I get back, and I got invited, so I got to go to a party. Then they were so happy. They made goods, they made books, they made posters, they made all sorts of things. It was a pretty big deal. And I was disappointed that we weren't able to get many horses over this year, but due to the economic conditions currently in Japan, it just became unaffordable. So this mare is actually traveling one way. She's going to become a happy American mama here soon after this race, and I think that kind of helped push it over the edge for her to be able to come here. Plus, there is absolutely no greatest stakes sprint races on dirt for females in Japan.
Oh, wow.
So this will be her first time competing in these conditions against her own sex.
And last question, we'll go ahead and let you go. Are you able to release what farm she is going to since she's staying here in America?
I don't know if I'm at liberty to discuss Mr. Maeda's personal decisions, but it will be... If you know how well American sires do in Japan, you can probably guess the stallion she's going to, and it'll be pretty exciting.
Well, I appreciate the time, Kate. We'll let you go ahead and get on with your morning, and good luck to you guys with Chain of Love and the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Todd, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, you talk to anyone at the Breeders' Cup. Kate is the reason that we get so many great horses over from Japan, and we talked about that breakthrough moment last year at Del Mar. What about Friday and Saturday? So we're bringing you breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We have one more show. That's tomorrow. You see on FanDuel TV. But as far as Friday and Saturday, how you can follow all the action, well, stay tuned with FanDuel TV. We're going to bring you all of Future Stars Friday. We have our broadcast partners on the NBC family of networks. They'll be on USA Network starting in race number 5 on Friday. But again, FanDuel TV's got all the action. And then FanDuel TV, the exclusive carrier of the first couple of championship races on Saturday, 9 of them and all. This has been quite the evolution that we have had with our partnership with the Breeders' Cup. Pretty much everything except the Classic on FanDuel TV, when we will turn it over to our partners at NBC.
We're going to need miners lamps for race 12?
So
6:20. That's, remember,
Kate, you're from around here. When is it getting dark?
It gets real dark, but I think they've timed it to be exactly at sunset, so they have the last little bit of daylight.
If you want to play all the racing action, there is the best place out there. It is FanDuel Racing. FanDuel is the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup, and we are offering a no-sweat first win bet. You heard that right, up to $100. Get up to $100 back if you don't win your first single horse win bet. Check it out, FanDuel Racing. You can scan that QR code. Tomorrow, Mike Joyce is going to be on the set. We mentioned all the other interviews you're doing with Frankie Dettori and the rest, but Mike Joyce is going to be in my spot along with Kate and along with Simon, and Christina is going to be back. But as I call this my final breakfast show for this Breeders' Cup, I do want to thank some individuals on here. We were showing you the bowling party that we had here just a couple of nights ago. Very prominent there is Becky Somerville. What you did not see is Becky earlier in the night FaceTiming her kids who were out trick-or-treating. Everyone makes sacrifices when you're on the road for this long. That was typical, the sacrifices made, and I hope that you have appreciated the hard work that the many men and women, many of whom I won't have time to name here, have put into the show. I certainly am grateful, and when you walk up and you say, we love the Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup show, you are reaffirming the hard work and the sacrifices that all these men and women have made. Thank you, Becky Somerville. Thank you, Christian Lee. Thank you, Chad Noche. Thank you to our entire Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup show. While it's my final show, we hope you'll join us for the show tomorrow, right down Clubhouse Lane here at beautiful Keeneland Racecourse. The Breeders' Cup has returned. Oh, Miles Feld getting a little bit of a snack in there in the mornings. Mike Joyce had some pointed words for management and his travel arrangements. And then there's Chris Lee. Get back to work, Gabby Godet. And Flightline and so many stars making up 2 days of racing that will definitely make an impact on the sport of thoroughbred racing. It's the Breeders' Cup from Keeneland Racecourse. Good job, Lair Bear. Lair Bear.
NBA is back, and with FanDuel, this season's looking better than ever. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet and get up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass with a $5 bet from America's #1 sportsbook. That's right. Not only do you get a no-sweat first bet, you can also watch NBA League Pass on us. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way, quickly and securely. Come see why FanDuel Casino promotions give you so much more than other online casinos. Join FanDuel Casino and play it again with up to $1,000 back if you're down on your first day.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.